Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2. Talk to me, my people. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. You can hear me? Dorette. Yes, Miss D, big up yourself. All right. Let me see what's going on here. Oh, OT. Please sign the Magnitsky petition. We'll talk about that. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Near, far, up, down. Um, Daytime, nighttime, lunchtime, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is where you are, welcome to Come Reason with Rattigan, the show where you get to be the host and you can ask me any question, not just me, but me and my guests. Tonight we'll have Dr. Ben. He'll join us a bit later. And I think we have Schoolboy joining us as well. I don't see him yet, but it's going to be an interesting night. But before we go any further, let me just say hello and greet everyone. Daglish, bless up. Miss D, bless up, bless up, bless up. Dorrit said, please look if my name, I'm conscious. Okay. Merle said, good night, Sir Rattigan. Favor said, don't diss the pro box. So no one come over here and diss Mr. Rattigan. Blessed love to this program. Big up yourself, Merle. Patel, good to have you. Good evening. Good evening. Beverly, wonderful Wednesday to you as well. Lyris, yeah, them for like up the live as them come along. One Indian, bless up, bless up. Thank you very much, sir. Praying one, good evening. Art Nell, greetings, greetings. Dorothy Richards, pleasant afternoon to you as well. Dorothy McCoy, good night, good night. Big J64, good evening. Joey Blogs, bless up my brother. Elaine, big up yourself, Elaine. Moodios, manners and respect. Likewise, Moodios. RJ Simia, RJ, waving back at you. Jeffrey Worrell, greetings, sir. Greetings. Ekron, greetings. I think that's it. Oh, Claudette Reed, good evening. Good evening to you, Claudette. Hold on. Mega. East New York, East Flatbush, Brownsville, Betts, everywhere safe in Brooklyn because he's here. Sweeney, you did sign. Outstanding. Love you for that. JP, good night, JP. Dorette, again, bless up. Up, way up there. Walk like a champion. Greetings. Walking in divine purpose. Good evening. Simonesh, you just signed the Magnitsky. Blessings, Simonesh. We're not playing around here. When we promise something, we fulfill our promise. We're not still like some people who promise prosperity and a poverty. Doris Richards, blessings. Carly Banks, Ratty a bad boy. Reggae girl, good night, reggae girl. Big up yourself, reggae girl. Sharon Samuels, blessed night. Reggae girl, give me a link tomorrow. Please. Give me a link tomorrow, reggae girl. Hurricane Hattie, blessings. Barbara Giwa, blessed night to you too. Miss Rita, good night, Miss Rita. Who else we have? OT, give me them. Talk to me. Lorraine, big up yourself too and more strength to you. Enough love. Doris Gordon, Doris said good evening to everybody. Carnet Sterling, yes, indeed. Marcia Murray, good evening, Marcia. Real black woman. Big up yourself. Evie, good evening. Kinsley Anglin, good evening. Lorraine, good night. Enough strength and more respect. The other way around how you said to me, right? Louisa Stewart, blessings. Christopher Wright, good evening. Opal Watson. Oh, sorry, Opal, Mr. Schoolboy, a head boy. Sorry. Opal, I stand corrected. And that's why, you remember telling us that this is a learning experience for both of us, for me and for you, right? When we make a mistake, you correct me. And then when I make a mistake, I correct you, right? So it's a learning experience. Christopher Wright, good evening. Dynamic, good evening, good evening. JB, big up yourself, JB. Carl Allen, good night, good night, good night, Carl. Mike Reed, bless up, bless up. Dr. Ben Soonjang, Ivan Wallace, good evening, good evening. Joan Allen, good night, good night. Jeanette Letts, blessings. Oh yeah, we have to stay safe. Angela, blessings. Yvonne O'Connor, you just have come. Well, you're on time. Good evening. Rhea F1, greetings, greetings. Eco, good night, Eco. Al Kebulan, Toronto in the building, as always. Mr. President Radio Show, blessings from, hey, Prezi. Big up yourself, sir. Thanks for all the work you do. Loxley Gregory, up, way up there, Loxley. Devon Stumpy Burnett, up again, up this over there. Adassa, greetings to everyone from Adassa. Mike Myers, up. Megawatts says schoolboy. I know schoolboy, a head boy, man. Was a police at Central. Oh, yeah, said schoolboy was a police at Central Police. You see, Megawatt can't help himself and him jumping and correct me. Again, after me done get correct already, you beat me hard, Mega. But I said it go. Now learn. Come on. Eco Waterhouse, not the house. See him so right to say there. Now move it. Desmond Myrie. Good night. Yvonne Riley, good night. That's it, OT. Let me see. OT, that's it. GP. Let me see. Oh, Kimon says our first time. Okay. Them say first cut is the deepest cut or the sweetest cut, something like that. But we're glad to have you, Kimon. Janet Monday, good night. Good night, Janet Monday. All right, that's it. Oh, Dynamic, have a question. All right, you can post the question, Dynamic. Well, you skip Pat's Unique World. Good night. Witches Brew. Rubio just come by to say hello. Dorrit send for like up the live. Pat's Unique World. Good night, yeah. Who else we have? Dorrit tell that come on. Oh, make we talk. I am here. It's my first time on the program. You lie, Jeffrey. Boy. Is there still a prices commission in Jamaica? Dynamic? I don't know the answer to that question. Rodney Reed, up, way up there. Yeah, Joe Black Cinemas, hit the button, like button, and remember to subscribe to the channel. Delinquent Panda level there, you know. So Joe Bloggs helped me out, Elena helped me out, OT helped me out, Sonia Graham, blessings. Kalisha Kerr, blessings. Stella Gray Passmore, heal up. That was say. Marjorie Goldburn, good night. Winston B, greetings. Paul Francis. Why Rubio was in Jamaica? Why Rubio? Paul Francis. We'll touch on that later, Paul. Benita Clark, blessings. And I think that's it. All right. Well, folks, listen. We have a lot to talk about, but I think the one subject everybody wants to talk about and wants to hear my opinion on is the visit, right? Now, what you saw this afternoon, today, and just to be clear, I haven't prepared anything, right? I watched some of the press conference and I walk away with some thoughts. Marva dies. Stay so, good night. And I would like to share them with you. Now, for those of you who don't know me, don't know my experience, what you saw today, I've been a part of for many years. we, when I was in charge of the Intel unit in New York City, which by the way has the biggest Intel unit in the entire FBI, we used to have what they call codels. They would come by and we would have to brief them. Now, these codels mean congressional delegation. It's a contraction of those two words, codels. And we would also get visits from law enforcement people from overseas. Now, for codels, we would brief our principals. Or if I were briefing my section, I would be briefed. I'd get my people and they would brief me on who's coming, what the likely issues are that they'll raise, and what my answers should be. Donna Whitaker, bless up. Now, that was fairly easy because you're talking about people with clearance anyway, security clearances. With foreign officials, it was different. Foreign officials, Pastor Ricky, big up yourself. With foreign officials, UB comrade, bless up. With foreign officials, we would have to do a complete workup. So no foreign official would come into that building without advance notice. So they would tell us like a month in advance that this person is coming, and we would say yes or no. And then they would send us a bio. We would do a complete workup on the person from the time they're born until now. And then that would give us a fairly good sense of who is it that we're allowing into our space, because we're very protective about our space. And sometimes what you would see a well orchestrated dance when we sat across the table from these people, because we knew more about them than they about us. We knew why they were coming there. And generally speaking, the overwhelming majority of the time when somebody entered that building and they're sitting across from you, they were asking for your help. They were asking for information. So, OT, I think Head Boy is coming on now. Just look out for him from a place. So we would see that diplomatic dance. In fact, we would orchestrate the dance. And then from being in charge of the Intel unit, and it became so large that it turned into a division by itself. And then I went on to Mississippi. I was the number 2 guy in Mississippi. Then I left Mississippi and I went over to South Africa. And then I left South Africa and I went to Washington, D.C. and then I retired. But working overseas in an embassy, I would see all of this that happened to that. I'd see it on a regular basis. We used to call them a constellation of stars, because we would see senators. I mean, I was in South Africa when President Obama came to Joburg. I was in South Africa when Vice President Joe Biden, he came. In fact, I had a long conversation with him, a one-on-one conversation with him. We had a you name it, secretaries of state. They would come and we would have all of this briefing for them. So why am I telling you all of this? I'm setting the stage because I don't want you to ever think that Secretary of State Marco Rubio got up there today and just started speaking. There's a huge effort put into that meeting. But behind the scenes, you would never believe it. Briefings, advanced teams coming to Jamaica to scope out the place, make sure, check on what the threat level is, talking to embassy people, the regional security officer, the FBI, ATF, DEA, all of them, right? And so what you saw today was a culmination of a tremendous amount of effort put in by a lot of people. So when Secretary and kind of so call him Rubio just to make or Marco just to make it short, get to the point. When Marco spoke today, he spoke after receiving briefings. He received his briefings in New York. He received his briefings on the plane, and he received his briefings when he got to Jamaica. So he knew the principles before he got to Jamaica. Not to mention, he met them last year when he was a senator. But remember, America doesn't have friends. America has interests. So no matter how friendly you see people are and they talk to you and they pat you on the back and all of that, remember this, and remember this well. What you say at a press conference has very little meaning. It has meaning to the viewers. You guys are watching it. And so you walk away with a perception that in many cases is faulty. The crux of any press conference of this nature is what's said before the press conference and what's said after the press conference. I've been part of this dance where we sat down in a room and everybody briefed the person and it's just bad news. And we said, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to make it nice for the press. We're not going to air our dirty laundry out there. But we really have some differences with the people that, host country nation. And we go out and we hug each other and, we say the very nice things. And if you go back and you look at all of those speeches that Marco Rubio has made to foreign officials, you'll find that there's certain themes. If you go back and you read them, go to the State Department website, and if you read them, you'll see that there's certain themes. They're constant. He's very gracious. And then when he talks about America's interests, it's almost like he's quoting word for word from the previous speech. So that's why when you see him up there and he's not reading, that's because he's prepared. He's been doing this time after time after time in only 2 months. He's going to get much better. I saw some nervousness, a little bit of nervousness today, but give him time. He's going to be good. In fact, he's going to be great at doing this because he has that natural ability to speak. He just has to get a firm footing on the issues. And that's what will trip people up all the time if you don't know the issues, if you're not familiar with the issues. If you're not familiar with issues, then you can do like my mother always did. She always turned it back to Jesus. Always. And that's a winner. People love hear about who have a frown when they hear about Jesus. But Marco Rubio can't do that or won't do that. So he has to talk about the issues and sometimes struggle through the issues. So the dance, let's talk about the dance now. So he was waltzing with the prime. If you notice, the prime minister read his speech, at least the parts that I saw. He read his speech. And I'm thinking either he has a speechwriter who's very fast, or they had a meeting before and so they could construct something for him to read. Because generally, you have the meeting and then you come right out. You don't have time for draft a speech. Marco Rubio, he spoke extemporaneously, spoke freely. I mean, he looked down every once in a while and he has like talking points. So he'll see something saying, he'll have a one word, for example, or a phrase, mention China. And so he will talk about China. And then sometimes when you ask questions, that will drive the discussion. So what you saw today was a dance. Now, remember, I had said this. Wait. Like this. What's going to happen next week when Marco Rubio reach? Marco Rubio going to mention 2 C's to him. 3 C's. 3 C's. Marco Rubio is going to say, Mr. Holness, China as president, as China.
Economic colonization. Continue, sir.
Second one, Cuba. Third one, and probably the biggest one, corruption. Now, folks, think about this. All right? Marco Rubio was briefed about the prime minister. And he knows everything about the prime minister. He knows about the 28 bank accounts. He knows about the 4 companies formed during COVID. He knows about Westcon. He knows about the property the properties up in Beverly Hills. He knows about ADMAT. He knows about all of the corruption going on with the other ministers, Royal Reed et al. He knows all about this. And you can just think that it's killing Marco Rubio to stand there and say all of these things about our prime minister, knowing that this man is a pariah in CARICOM. His CARICOM colleagues, they don't trust him. Not for 1 minute. And who can blame them? They don't trust Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith either. And who can blame them? But I want to show you something. Let me see if and forgive me, because I had to draw for Kevin and OT and hurriedly put some stuff together. So just bear with me. Here's a speech, right? This one here. Head boy there. All right, you can bring him on. This speech here, right? This was Marco Rubio and his meeting with the Guatemalan president, right? And it's February 5th, 2025. And some of the same topics that he spoke about today, they're right in there. It's a long readout. It's a long readout, but some of the same things. He talked about transnational organized crime, talked about drugs, talked about all kinds of stuff. If you have time, go ahead and read this. Let me give out the title. There's a title. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Guatemalan President Bernardo Arevalo at a joint press availability. Just go back and read that, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. It's the same themes that him come up with. But there's something else I want to show you. Hold on to your seats. Hold on to your seats. Here it is. Kevin, they have to big it up, so I'm going to have to read it to you, right? This is out of the U.S. Embassy in Argentina. Read it to you. It says, and it's dated March 21st. Today's the 26th. This was 5 days ago. And it says, designation of former president of Argentina and former minister of planning of Argentina for involvement in significant corruption. Remember the third C? Here we go. This is from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. It says, today I am announcing the designation of Cristina Elizabeth Fernandez de Kirchner, former president of Argentina, and Julio Miguel de Vido, former minister of planning of Argentina, for their involvement in significant corruption during their time in public office. This action renders De Vido and Kirchner and their immediate family members generally ineligible for entry into the United States. Kirchner and De Vido abused their positions by orchestrating and financially benefiting from multiple bribery schemes involving public works contracts resulting in millions of dollars stolen from the Argentine government. And they say multiple courts have convicted them for corruption, undermining the Argentine people's and investors' confidence in Argentina's future. The United States will continue to promote accountability for those who abuse public power for personal gain. These designations reaffirm our commitment to counter global corruption, including at the highest levels of government. Mr. Prime Minister, I wouldn't be jumping up and down and having a good time if I were you. This is serious business. This is serious business. Before we get to the video of today's event, I'm not going to play the individual presentations or speeches or remarks, because I can tell you what that is, you know, and if you've heard it, they're all saying nice things about each other. I'm going to play you the responses to the question. But before we get there, remember we've been talking about the Magnitsky. Sure, you guys heard about the Magnitsky. And remember we were saying that the Magnitsky Act was named after a Russian journalist slash lawyer who uncovered tremendous amounts of corruption in Russia. And for that, he was arrested, beaten, and killed. So the US government named this act after him. And it's gone through some refinements. As it stands right now, the US government can revoke visas and seize property belonging to foreign government officials and private citizens for corruption, kleptocracy, and human rights violations. And believe me, my people, Jamaica qualifies in all three categories. All three categories. We had some hiccups last year, so we didn't get to the Magnitsky petition. But I am proud to tell you that we have completed that task. And I would like to extend my gratitude to that small but committed group of people that worked to get this thing into realization. Here it is. Here's our Magnitsky petition. We have the Jamaican flag, the scale of justice, and we have some broken chains there. We'll take off the shackles and chains off of the people of Jamaica. Now, what I want you to understand is this. This is the petition, but it's only part of the package. We need you to sign this document, and I'm going to go through it so you can see what it is that you're signing. I want you to sign this document because once we have enough signatures, and enough means thousands, once we get to that, we already have another package, which is the documentation. The documentation of human rights abuses in Jamaica, of kleptocracy in Jamaica, of corruption in Jamaica. And we're not going to send them as a package. We're going to send them individually, one at a time. And we are going to send them to, hold on. Hold on, there's somebody here. Yeah, monitors. There's, please keep on that. Okay, all right, good. Thank you. I got rid of her. Yeah. And we're going to send the package to the EU, the Canadian government, the US government, and the UK government, as well as international organizations. It's not that they don't know, but sometimes they need a little prodding to do the right thing. Now, once we've sent it, our job is finished. It's up to them. We will follow up, but if they decide that they're not going to do anything, we can't force them. But at least we're making the effort. As a people, we're making the effort to say enough is enough. We're tired of the corruption. We're tired of the kleptocracy. We're tired of the human rights violations. And they're continuing, all three of them continuing. So that is the OT, you can move. Oh, hold on. Okay, here we go. So here it is. It says, by signing this petition, you are standing up for transparency, accountability, and justice for the sake of our country, our citizens, and our future. And then when you click on this, I think this is where, oh no, that goes to, I want to go to the website. Hold on 1 second, folks. You click on this. Here we go. It says, implement the Magnitsky Act to challenge corruption and human rights violations in Jamaica. We didn't put the kleptocracy there, but that's fine. And this is what, this is, hold on, this is what you're going to sign. There it is. It says, I'll read it, because I can't big it up and I don't want it no chance. Go try big it up and mess it up. It says, the devastating impact of corruption, kleptocracy, and human rights violations on ordinary Jamaican citizens, particularly the poor and marginalized, is a stark reality. As Jamaicans who care deeply about Jamrock and our people, we are compelled to seek international assistance to influence the necessary change. Jamaica is ranked 73 out of 180 countries, 180 on Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index. That's 2024. Indicating a significant problem with corruption. We cannot continue to ignore this issue that is so deeply embedded in our nation's fabric, affecting every aspect of life for Jamaicans. Kleptocracy, a government characterized by rampant greed and corruption, further exacerbates these issues, concentrating wealth among a small Jamaican elite while the wider population suffers. Moreover, human rights organizations such as Amnesty International have regularly documented allegations of human rights abuses, including unlawful killings, unconstitutional detention, and ill treatment by the Jamaican constabulary force. The Magnitsky Act, a significant law first employed by the United States, grants pertinent nations the legal framework to impose visa bans and asset freezes on government officials involved in bribery, corruption, and serious human rights abuses. Utilizing this act against Jamaican government officials is a vital step towards cleansing our system and embarking on a path of the promised good governance and justice. We therefore call upon the US, UK, EU, and Canada to review our claims and apply the Magnitsky Act to combat corruption, kleptocracy, and human rights violations in Jamaica. By signing this petition, you are standing up for transparency, accountability, and justice for all Jamaicans. Please lend your voice and help us bring about this much needed change for the sake of our country, our citizens, and our future. That's what that says. So we're on our way, people. No turning back. Well, we never thought about turning back. So you're going to see this petition all over social media. We want you to sign it. In the meantime, we're packaging up the substance, and this will go on top, and then we will deliver them. We will deliver them. Then, oh, Sharon, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So we see where the US government is doing something about corruption. Even after you have left office, they still can go after you under various acts, including Magnitsky. They can go after you. There's no statute of limitation. So if they determine that the Westcon investigation, for example, that if it's determined by the State Department or any one of these governments that, listen, the corruption prosecutor didn't do a good job. She should have prosecuted the prime minister. They can go after him, regardless of what happens in Jamaica. And no visa and all of his money outside of the country, assets, gone. 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 So that's what we're doing around here. You know, people accuse us of talking, and not doing anything. Here's one thing that we're doing. And not to mention the things we did last year, but last year they said the past is prologue, that happened and gone. We're talking about no this year. So let's go to the speeches, right? And let's analyze the speeches. OT would like me to tell all of you that the petition is in the description and posted on both YouTube channels. Please. Oh, Semanesh, if it no matter if the money, whoever it is, they can't put the money in other people's names, because you have some people called forensic auditors, forensic accountants. They'll find the money. They'll find the money. So if him can put in a family name, it not really make a difference. And actually, you have force, because some of these politicians, they don't want to put things in other people's names because people might run over them things, you know. But we're going to make the seat a little bit hot for them. We're going to make it a little bit hot for them. So now let's go to today's orchestrated dance. And I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to explain to you diplomatic speak, because sometimes when you hear yes, it's not a yes. What I want you to do is look at the person speaking, look at the body language, and look at the choice of words. And you'll be able to tell. Just pay attention. And let me see something here. You remember that I don't want to go back and rehash the thing about, you know, how long this action has been going on, and the Jamaican government, the lazy ambassador we had here didn't have a clue that this was going on, couldn't brief her principals in Kingston, and so they were caught flat-footed. But okay, remember, this is what Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith said she was going to ask for clarification. There is no clarification required for this. It says expansion of visa restrictions policies for individuals exploiting Cuban labor. And you might ask, what does it mean to exploit Cuban labor? You'll see it right here. Here it is. Here it is right here. It says, Cuba continues to profit from the forced labor of its workers, and the regime's abusive and coercive labor practices are well documented. Tell you what he meant by that. If there's an agreement between any country and Cuba for the medical missions, the way it works is that country doesn't pay the doctors directly. They pay the Cuban government. And then the Cuban government will give whatever the formula is, whatever they feel like giving, they'll give to their medical personnel. The US government said, no, that's exploiting them, because you're now paying a government. And as you know, Marco Rubio, he comes with, he's not coming to this as an independent party. He's coming with his biases. And all of us, we all have biases. But remember, he's Cuban American, and he's from South Florida. And they vehemently oppose the Cuban regime. They hate the Cuban regime. And they'll do anything to see it crumble. And so what he's saying is that when you pay Cuba, you are keeping them afloat. When you pay Cuba, you're keeping them afloat, and they're sending their people, they're taking the passports, and they're doing this and they're doing that to them. Now, one could reasonably make the argument that, wait a minute, Cuba invested in these people. They didn't pay for their medical education. And so when they go and they work, whatever the Cuban government is taking from them is reinvested into that same program, so they can have more doctors, more dentists, more this, more that. One could make that argument. Say it's almost like they've invested in human resources, and they're saying this is the return on our investment, and we're going to reinvest it in more people. You could make that argument. I'm not here to make that argument or not make that argument. All I'm trying to say is that Jamaica is in a pickle. So when our dear Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade said, I need to get more clarification, she's lying. You don't need clarification for this. It says if you're involved in here's a program, if you're involved in the Cuban labor export program. She must say, no, we're not. That's what she must say. She can't say that because it would be a lie. Because they have about 400 medical personnel from Cuba helping out poor people on the island. OT, walk like a champion, ask a question. Okay, one, no. Is it only applicable to the Prime Minister or all? No, walk like a champion. The Magnitsky, it's all corrupted politicians. And it includes sometimes like people of influence in the society. But they've used it mostly on corrupt politicians, and not just the Prime Minister or the President. They've used it on ministers, and even some low-level people. Your freedom, that's a good point you raise. So I'm not going to argue about that. I'm just talking about, the fact that Jamaica is involved in the program, and they're saying if you're involved in the program, then there's a price to pay. So now we're gonna listen to the diplomats speak, and I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience. I'm not saying I'm always right when it comes to these matters, but I can tell you that most of the time I'm pretty close to having it, hitting the nail on the head. If I don't hit the nail on the head, I'm pretty close. Because there's one thing about reading something in the newspaper, and you all know this, all of you know this. And there's another thing about experience and wisdom. When you sit at that table and you listen and you watch the participants and you learn. Many times I sat in those meetings and I had to pinch myself and say, I can't believe that the man from Waterhouse, little boy from Waterhouse, they're not a meeting. Yeah. Can't believe it. But it happened. It happened. All right, without further ado, we're going on. So we'll play it and we'll stop and we'll talk. By the way, Ed Boy, big up yourself. Say hello to the people, please.
Hi, good night, Mr. Rattigan. Good night to your listeners, and good night to those in the diaspora in the United States, Canada, the UK, and Eastern Caribbean.
All right. That's the erudite Head Boy people. First time on the program, and he will talk up the things. He won't disappoint. I can assure you of that. Now, let me see if this is the first one.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister Holness and Secretary Rubio. Thank you both for your remarks just now. We have several members of the media from Jamaica and the United States in the room with us this afternoon, but we will only be taking 4 questions.
Okay. First point to note is that, hear what they say, they're taking 4 questions. Now, they know the 4 people that they're going to have asked the questions. And to some extent, they know the questions that will be asked. So you will never hear something like this. You'll never hear somebody get up and say, Mr. Prime Minister, please explain the 28 bank account stuff. No. No. The questioners have been pre-selected and they know the questions. This lady here, she knows the questions and they know the questions that will be asked. Or they have an idea, a general idea. But sometimes, you know, people, them get nervous and then get taunted, you know, and then turn fool and them say all kind of things. But they might have a general idea. They might have the specific questions or they have a general idea, the area that the questions will come from. So, point to note, whenever these meetings occur, these high-level meetings, press conferences, they know who they're going to call on to ask the questions. And you should start out without even talking about time, because usually time is of the essence, or even if it's not of the essence, time is considered. And you should say, she didn't mention time. She just said, we are asked 4 questions, only 4 questions. What will happen is that you will get 4 people asking questions, not 4 questions, because one gentleman asked like 4 questions. That's okay. Here we go.
And I ask that those who have been selected, that you please stand as you ask.
You hear that? Now hear that. Those who have been selected. So this is well orchestrated, this setup. All right?
Your question, and our first question is going to be from John Hudson of the Washington Post.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, Republican Congressman Don...
He came with me. Don't say I don't take you to nice places.
Thank you for the hospitality. Beautiful weather, beautiful country. Much appreciated.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Mr. Secretary, Republican Congressman Don Bacon weighed in on the signal chat breach, saying the White House is, quote, in denial that this was not classified or sensitive data. They should just own up to it and preserve credibility. Do you think that's true? Also, here in Jamaica, there are USAID employees at our embassy, like so many others around the world, on administrative leave, not carrying out the work of the American people. Do you worry that the DOGE effort won't ultimately end up benefiting U.S. taxpayers? And Prime Minister, violence and instability remains in Haiti. What would you like to see from the United States in terms of being a productive force? And a State Department envoy yesterday called the presence of Cuban doctors in Jamaica and elsewhere human trafficking. Do you agree with that? Thank you.
All right. So you see, Mas about 4 questions, right? The Prime Minister has been prepped about that Cuban doctor thing. That's a very troubling question. And you're going to hear him answer it, and I'm going to analyze his answer for you.
Take the first. I've already addressed the aid one, but let me address it again. This is not about getting rid of aid. This is about restructuring how we're going to do aid. And when you restructure, there's some disruption, but it has to happen. By the way, this is not an idea. This is an idea Condoleezza Rice wanted.
And this idea, where it says that the USAID, the aid that America provides to different countries, he's saying that, you know, they're just going to restructure it because now they're going to go to, you know, government to government. He's preaching this, but believe me, there is a policy behind it. It's a carrot on the stick thing, you know what I mean? They use it as a lever. They use it as an attraction. You want aid? You want money? You do what we tell you to do. Otherwise, we'll cripple your economy. And this is like the first step towards crippling an economy when you withdraw aid. Let's continue.
This is an idea multiple secretaries of state throughout time have tried to achieve. And we intend to achieve it because we think it makes all the sense in the world. So I recognize that there's disruption involved when you make reform and you make change. But it's necessary because our foreign policy and our foreign aid have to be aligned. Foreign aid is an instrument of foreign policy. Okay? It is not global charity. Jamaica's not asking for charity. They're asking for development assistance so they can become stronger at their security needs and the other things of this.
That's another thing. This is part of the dance. You know, them say we'll come out and we're gonna dance and we're gonna be generous with our words to each other, right? But we know what the issues are. But we just all come out and we not come out and try and embarrass anybody. But read between the lines and you'll see what he's saying. Because Jamaica now come ask for development. Jamaica asks for handout, and then when we take the handout, then run with it.
Nature. That's what they're asking for. They're not asking for a handout. They're asking for a hand up, help to build their capabilities so that they become a self-reliant partner. And frankly,
Look how long Jamaica get USAID money and can become self-reliant. And not today, Jamaica I get USAID money, a decades. Decades. So when Marco Rubio do, he just a soften the blow. Let's continue.
Could end up and already are helping other countries. Jamaica now is contributing to the effort in Haiti as an example. So these
Jamaica is continuing to contribute to the effort in Haiti because we have become mercenaries. We're fighting for money. Remember, they didn't want to send if Jamaica was truly concerned about the Haitian people and wanted to get in the spirit of brotherhood, in the spirit of being neighbors, in the spirit of being black people, if they really wanted to do that, they would not have to wait for the money. And remember, they didn't send the soldiers and the policemen over there because they never get any money yet. Remember, the money was held up. And it was only when the money released, them send them.
These are the kinds of things we want to see in our foreign aid. So, look, our goal was not to disrupt anyone's life. Our goal was to restructure the way we deliver foreign aid so that it is aligned with our foreign policy and with what we're trying to carry out at our respective missions around the world. On the first question, let me just say on the signal thing. This thing was set up for purposes of coordinating how everyone was going to call. When these things happen, I need to call foreign ministers, especially of our close allies. We need to notify members of Congress. Other members of the team have different people they need to notify as well. And that was the purpose of why it was set up. Obviously, someone made a mistake. Someone made a big mistake and added a journalist. Nothing against journalists, but you ain't supposed to be on that thing. So they got on there and this happened. I've been, so I can speak to myself or my presence on it. I think my role on it was just speaking for my role. I contributed to it twice. I identified my point of contact, which is my chief of staff. And then later on, I think 3 hours after the White House's official announcements had been made, I congratulated the members of the team. I've been assured by the Pentagon and everyone involved that none of the information that was on there, though not intended to be divulged, obviously that was a mistake and that shouldn't have happened and the White House is looking at it, but that none of the information on there at any point threaten the operation or the lives of our servicemen. And in fact, it was a very successful operation, and it's an ongoing operation. But that was the intent behind it. And again, I think the Pentagon's made clear that nothing on there would have endangered the lives or the mission. And the mission's been very successful.
Is it classified, the information?
Well, the Pentagon says it was not. And not only did it say it was not, they make very clear that it didn't put in danger anyone's life or the mission. There was no intelligence information. And understand, when this story first broke, they were sort of alluding to were there war maps, or there was no war plans on there. This was a sort of description of what we could inform our counterparts around the world when the time came to do so. Again, look, I think the White House is looking at this entire thing. How did that journalist get on there? Why was this the appropriate? And I think there'll be reforms and changes made, so this was not going to happen again. It can't. But I wanted everybody to understand why this thing was even set up in the first place, and also understand very clearly the mission was successful, and at no point was it endangered. And that's coming from the highest-ranking officials at the agency that was in charge of the actual operation, which is the Pentagon.
In terms of Haiti, the United States has been an incredible partner, in fact, the lead partner, in ensuring that resources and organization is brought to the crisis in Haiti. In terms of what more could...
You hear that? The U.S. is a partner, and it's a partner because they bring resources. They didn't put any bodies on the ground, right? Not that we know of, or in any substantial way. So, but we put, compared to our population size, we put a fair amount of people over there, and we did it because of money. That's why we did it.
Be done. I think we're at a phase in Haiti where there has to be a rapid expansion of the Haitian National Police, the HNP, in terms of the manpower and resources, because ultimately the HNP has to take on the gangs. The present holding situation that we have is not necessarily moving the situation forward as we would all like. So there would have to be a significant expansion in resources in support of the HNP to enable them to take on the gangs. In terms of Cuban doctors in Jamaica, let us be clear. The Cuban doctors in Jamaica have been incredibly helpful to us. Jamaica has a deficit in health personnel, primarily because many of our health personnel have migrated to other countries. We are.
Correction, Mr. Prime Minister. Many of our health personnel have fled to other countries, not migrated. Use the right word. Them run away because there's no future practicing medicine in Jamaica. You don't have the equipment. You don't have the medicine. You don't have the facilities. And you have a population that turns out to be largely understaffed. So why would you even stay there? Why? Don't say they've migrated. That's too nice a word. They fled.
However, very careful not to exploit the Cuban doctors who are here. We ensure that they are treated within our labor laws and
not to exploit the Cuban doctors that are here, but we treat them within the framework of our labor laws. How does the Jamaican government treat Jamaican laborers? Mr. Prime Minister, you're putting this out there for the world. Remember, we're looking at Vision 2030, Jamaica being a developing country. And so you're giving the impression that we have strong, vibrant, efficient, fair labor laws. And you know that we do not. So when you're talking about the Cuban workers and saying, yes, they come within the ambit, the sphere of our labor laws, and we treat them fairly, think about your people. Think about your people too. But this nonsense you're selling, we're not buying about how you treat the Cuban doctors. Listen to this, people.
benefit like any other worker. So any characterization of the program by others certainly would not be applicable to Jamaica. We are ensuring that our program complies with all the international laws and standards to which we are a party to.
All right. Hear him say? Them not exploit the Cuban doctors because they are applying international labor standards to them and so on and so forth. This is a prepared response. When I say prepared a response, this is a massaged response. This is disingenuous. You know why? Because when you're talking about the Cuban doctors and exploiting them, they're talking about countries with contracts with the Cuban government that pay the Cuban government the salaries that these doctors earn. And then the Cuban government will turn around and pay the doctors whatever percentage. I've seen something where, in fact, you know what? Hold on a second. I think it's this. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, let me move this. See that? This, each worker, they're talking about the doctors now. Each worker earns $650 per month. I'm talking about US dollars. And that turns out to be 37% of the 1,732 that Jamaica pays Cuba. So Jamaica is paying the Cuban government 1,700, or at least at the time this thing came out. And you see where it's a Cuban doctors' human rights, right? Jamaica, at this time, Jamaica was paying $1,732 to the Cuban government. And the Cuban government was turning around and paying the doctor $650 out of this 1,732. So when him say we're following international standards, we're playing labor and international labor laws and stuff like that, he knows that that is not what they're talking about. He knows that. He knows that they're talking about the contract that these countries have with the Cuban government and the monies they're paying to the Cuban government, not to the Cuban doctors. If you notice, you'll never hear him say, we pay the Cuban doctors directly. You won't hear him say that, because if that were the case, he would have said that long time. He would have said that long time. But he didn't say it because he know it's not true. So I massage the answer and hear him present it now. Present it that, yes, you know, the characterization that they're being exploited does not apply to Jamaica. Well, that's not what they were talking about. They weren't talking about international labor standards. They're talking about paying a government that's paying a third of the money that you're giving them to the person doing the work in your country. That's the issue. But you're going to see, remember I tell you about this orchestrated dance, that this thing planned. You're going to hear how Marco Rubio, how he addresses the question when asked. And you're going to hear him say quite a few times when it had to do with China and when it had to the Cuban export labor program, you're going to hear him say, yeah, in general, this is what they're doing. Not Jamaica, but this is what they're doing, but not Jamaica. And we're going to think about it, but not Jamaica. People are Jamaica. Don't make them fool, you know. Do not let them fool, you know. It's Jamaica, no matter. Look, the man is in Jamaica. But he's not talking about Jamaica. He come to Jamaica to talk about the rest of the world and not Jamaica. Regarding these issues. And these issues are pressing issues. Remember now, he said, I'm there to further the president's policy. And the president's policy is that if a third country has a contract with the Cuban government, we have a problem with that country. No, we can argue and say, well, how could America make such a statement? Because we can point to examples where, you know, something similar happened or is happening or whatever. Not going to argue with it. That's not my argument. Elaine, the Prime Minister, is not a very good liar. It's just that we're not very good listeners. We're not very good listeners. Because if you're a good listener, him can't fool you. Can't fool you.
All right, our next question will come from Tana Thomas from Nationwide News Network. Please stand.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, my question is, or questions in relation to the matter of the Cuban Medical Corporation program as well. So the medical mission has been a cornerstone of healthcare in Jamaica and the Caribbean for over 50 years, according to our foreign minister. How does the U.S. reconcile its stance on this program with the region's reliance on Cuban medical professionals, and what alternatives does it propose to ensure healthcare security?
Well, yeah, I think the first thing is to separate the medical from the labor issues that we are pointing to. Okay, this is not about doctors. Okay, this is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica.
You're the first one, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. Him said we don't have a problem with the doctors, and more problem with the program. And what does the program entail? The program, in essence, says we, Cuba, will provide you with medical personnel, and you pay us. We have a contract with you. We send them to you. You pay us. We will take care of our workers. That is a problem that Marco Rubio and the U.S. government, that's a problem they have. They don't have a problem with the doctors coming. They have a problem with the way the doctors are paid and treated. Not by Jamaica, but by the Cuban government. Right? So that is it, people. So listen carefully to what's going on. Just listen carefully. Listen carefully, and you will see. Because you hear the Prime Minister say we treat everybody equal, and it's about the labor laws, right? And you hear where he must say no, something completely different.
We've discussed this today about, you know, following international labor standards and the
Watch
like. But I'm just talking.
Watch your body language. Watch your body language. You see, him have a difficulty. I try, you know, trying not to embarrass the prime minister. Watch the body language. I'm gonna go back.
Its stance on this program with the region's reliance on Cuban medical professionals, and what alternatives does it propose to ensure healthcare stability?
Well, yeah, I think the first thing is to separate the medical from the labor issues that we are pointing to. Okay, this is not about doctors. Okay, this is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. We've discussed this today about, following international labor standards.
You see that? You see that, people? I'm not talking about Jamaica. They are and you can't get to the point. I'm sorry, we talk about it today, and they have labor standards. But Wema says that Jamaica is using the argument that we treat them according to labor standards, and he's saying we don't care about labor standards. As long as you play Cuba and Cuba pay the doctors, then we have a problem with that. But he might try soften the blow. Our prime minister must have on one of them, what them call it, napkin. He must have one of them that kind. He might hope to God to come out and embarrass him. Here we go.
And the like, but I'm just talking about this program in general, how it's operated around the world. And how it's operated around the world is that basically the doctors are not paid. In many other parts of the world, the doctors are not paid. You pay the Cuban government. The Cuban government decides how much of anything to give.
That's the point, people. That's the point. So when Jamaica say we treat them by international labor standards, that is not what Marco Rubio talk about. This is, you see what I start with, see the difference though. Marco Rubio tell the Jamaican government, say, we have a problem with UNO because UNO pay the Cuban government. Yeah, depends. Thanks, daily lifestyle. When UNO say, well, we treat them based on labor standards, fine. It means them get a place to live and you don't discriminate against them and blah, 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 blah. Marco Rubio is saying that is not our argument. Our argument is that you are paying the Cuban government and the Cuban government is then giving whatever them feel like give to the worker. So it's two different things. Two different things. This is worth going back a little bit.
Give them. They take away their passports.
Or questions in relation to the matter of the Cuban Medical Corporation program as well. So the medical mission has been a cornerstone of healthcare in Jamaica and the Caribbean for over 50 years, according to our foreign minister. How does the U.S. reconcile its stance on this program with the region's reliance on Cuban medical professionals, and what alternatives does it propose to ensure healthcare stability?
Well, yeah, I think the first thing is to separate the medical from the labor issues that we are pointing to. Okay, this is not about doctors. This is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. We've discussed this today about, following international labor standards and the like, but I'm just talking about this program in general, how it's operated around the world. And how it's operated around the world is that basically the doctors are not paid. In many other parts of the world, the doctors are not paid. You pay the Cuban government. The Cuban government decides how much of anything to give them. They take away their passports. They basically operate as forced labor in many places. Now, there are places that have better labor standards. Perhaps Jamaica is one of those, and that's fine. But I'm describing generally what the program has been.
Hear that? There are many places with labor standards, and that's fine. He just poo-poo it off and say, we don't care about labor standards. We care about the contract that you have with the Cuban government. Pay careful attention, people, and see what I talk about, See what I talk about. He might undercut the prime minister because the prime minister come out and say, we don't care about him, say, whatever the characterization of like forced labor, exploiting people, we don't do that. We abide by international labor standards. That's his argument. Marco Rubio is that, fine. I don't care about international labor standards. I care about the fact that you are paying the Cuban government. And the Cuban government is doing whatever they want to do with these doctors.
It has operated in that way in many parts of the world and placed these people in tremendous danger. And so I think we can all agree that the trafficking in labor, be they doctors or farm workers, is not something that we would want to be supportive of. And we find
all right, let me remove that. I think this is part 2. I'm not sure. And
if tomorrow Jamaica announced anybody who wants to come can come in, you're going to get a lot of people too, and it's going to be very disruptive.
No, that's not it.
So
I think it's this one then.
The trafficking in labor, be they doctors or farm workers is not something that we would want to be supportive of, and we find that to be an egregious practice on the part of the Cuban regime. Now, every country operates their program differently. And obviously, because of our relationship with Jamaica, we're going to engage with them on that and talk about it further and have a better understanding.
Hear that? We're going to engage with them and talk about it further. Them know. What is there to engage about? This is a known fact that Jamaica is playing the Cuban government. There's nothing here to clarify. If the idea is you pay the Cuban government and they pay the doctors and we have a problem with it, there is a problem. But again, it's a diplomatic speak. It's a diplomatic speak. Because they know, they meaning the State Department, they know that Jamaica is paying the Cuban government. And that's a problem. But he see him don't want to embarrass him, so him say, well, yeah, we're going to engage and we're going to talk about it. Well, you put this thing out. This thing has been brewing since 2019. And now they have expanded the program. And the US government has representation in Kingston at the embassy. They've been talking. And now we have the Secretary of State getting up there saying, yeah, we're going to engage the Jamaican about this. Diplomatic speak, people. Diplomatic speak.
Understanding. Perhaps none of this applies in the way it's handled here, but generally that's the problem.
Hear that? None of this applies the way it's handled here. He knows that's how it's handled in Jamaica. He knows. That's why I'm telling you, my people, you have to be critical thinkers. You have to listen carefully. Because these people are trained in the art of diplomatic speak. And so you will hear beautiful words and you'll be swayed by them. You'll be comforted by them. You'll be convinced by them. But if you would just take that extra time and apply the effort and say, what does that mean? Just very simply, just ask who, why, what, where, when, how. Just ask that. When they tell you these things, just in your mind, just start asking yourself these questions. And you'll see. They had a conversation before. And so it's like, okay, we're not going to embarrass you, but you're going to have to find a way to come out of this Cuban dilemma. And, we'll go from there. Let's continue.
With the program. It's not that they're Cuban doctors. It's that the regime does not pay these doctors, takes away their passports, and basically it is, in many ways, forced labor. And that we cannot be in support of. Again, not speaking about here in particular, but in general about the program.
Now, hear him said, not speaking about, like Jamaica specifically, but generally the program. That's the way the program is run in Jamaica. Now, if the Jamaican government had any smarts, this problem could have been avoided. I'm not going to tell them how to, but it still can be avoided. But what we have a bunch of sophisticated nincompoops. They run around and they care more about how they look, their hairstyle, the dress, the balls, the social scene, more so than the people of Jamaica. And when I say more so the people of Jamaica, if there's one area that we are woefully inadequate in, it's in healthcare. Healthcare for our people, not healthcare for tourists. Because you're going to hear the Prime Minister come up with another nonsensical statement about crime not affecting tourists. And I'm saying to him, you have 2.8 million people you have to worry about, but you're not worried about them. You're worried about whatever the numbers of tourists that's coming to Jamaica. So you can see where the priorities are. You can see people versus personal. Them want that visa. And they don't want to be prosecuted. Let's continue.
Okay, our next question is going to come from Wil Lowry from the National News.
Thank you so much for taking my question, Mr. Secretary. I just want to circle back to John's question, the signal chat.
Oh, I have one question. Charmaine I'm glad I'm looking in the chat, and I'm glad you mentioned this. This meeting was supposed to feature Mia Mottley and the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. And I didn't see them. I don't know if they were there, but it kind of strikes me as being strange because Mia Mottley, she's in charge of CARICOM. And from everything I read and heard, she was supposed to be at this meeting representing CARICOM. But could you imagine Mia Mottley sitting in this meeting now between the Prime Minister and Secretary Marco Rubio, given her outspoken position and given his wishy-washy statement right there? Could you imagine what would happen in that room? Because the real leader in the Caribbean would not sit down and have the Prime Minister come up with this foolish argument here. Should I said to him, say, look, Mr. Prime Minister, cut it out. Cut it out. So I don't know what happened to her, but my understanding is that she was invited to this thing, and maybe she'll join them in Suriname, maybe she'll join them in Guyana. I don't know. Oh, she said they were there, but Jeffrey, but here's the thing. We thought that it was supposed to be like a trilateral meeting, like a meeting where, she's gonna meet with she's gonna be a part of this triumvirate, the three of them. I thought that was gonna be it, because you know what she's gonna tell him. You know what she's gonna tell him. Anyway, let's continue.
The signal chat, yes.
But of course, are you planning on making the Europeans pay for U.S. operations against the Houthis, given that their businesses seem to benefit more from opening up these shipping lanes, as discussed in that chat? And then moving to Russia, Ukraine, I was wondering if you could elaborate on the Black Sea ceasefire deal and how it's progressing. President Zelensky has already questioned Russia's seriousness, saying, quote, they are trying to distort agreements and, in fact, to see both our intermediaries in the entire world.
So on the first question about, look, here's the problem, okay? These guys, these Houthis, these are pirates, okay? This is a band of, it's a gang.
Let me stop right this off. I'm going to talk about Yemen. I'm familiar with that issue. Yemen was part of my territory, been there lots and lots of times. Dangerous place. Won't go into that issue. Let me just bring in Head Boy right now and have him render an opinion about everything that he's heard so far. Head Boy, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Rattigan, and thank you to your listeners. It's a privilege to be associated with a prestige individual like yourself, my friend. Now, I've listened. I would have said publicly on Make We Talk with our good friend Jeffrey Tavares and some other platforms as well, that I don't think that the Cuban issue is the sole issue why Foreign State Secretary Secretary of State Rubio would be in fact visiting Jamaica. Not to preempt you, but let me respond to what you have said so far up to this point. If you realize his reaction, and you're so right, that his reaction to say, oh, well, we're not referring to Jamaica. Jamaica would deal with those things in relation to the Cuban. But Jamaica is one of the countries that still pays the Cuban government in relation to the Cuban doctors. So it makes no sense what the Secretary of State is saying. And you are right that behind the scenes, they would have, because in diplomacy, you give a job and they take a job. Yeah.
Right. You're absolutely correct. And Pastor Ricky is saying that they had this meeting with the Prime Minister, but they had another meeting with the CARICOM heads of state. That's the meeting I'd love to see, because I know that Mia Mottley is not holding back. She's not going to come with fancy language and, pie in the sky type.
Are we there?
Ideas. She's going to tell it like it is. And think about it. She doesn't have to do it because she says, look, I have no Cuban medical personnel in my country. But I'm going to be the first one out there. I'm going to be on the front line talking about it. So
But
you know, let's continue.
In essence, that's gotten control of a certain part, but these are a religious fanatic gang. And these guys have missiles, and they've launched 174 attacks against the U.S. Navy ships, 150-something attacks on commercial vessels. They are literally saying they've set up a toll system at the Red Sea. These ships can go, these ships cannot. They don't blow up the Chinese ships, they don't blow up somebody, but they blow up all the other ships. This is not sustainable. And so I think the point that I've made publicly is we are doing a great favor to the world. The United States is doing a great favor to the world, going after these guys' capability of doing this. How can we live in a world where a group like this has advanced weapons, okay, and can shut down a shipping lane and increase the cost of shipping that we're all paying for? Everything we buy, all the stuff is embedded in the cost and in the price of these things is how much it costs to ship it. And so that's just not a sustainable thing. We can't allow it. So I think the point I would make is not, we're going to make everybody pay. It's everybody should recognize we are doing the world a great favor going after these guys because this can't continue. This is unsustainable. What's next? Some gang's going to show up somewhere else and shut off another shipping lane. That's not practical. It cannot happen. So what was your first question? I was so fired up about that one that I forgot the other one. Oh, yes, that one. Easy ones. Well, look, I think yesterday our negotiators are en route, or perhaps they've already arrived, after spending, I think they met with the Ukrainians twice, the Russians once. What we have here is an agreement in principle on a Black Sea ceasefire. We got two things from that. The first is we have more detailed definition of what the energy ceasefire entails. And the second is the principle, concept of a Black Sea ceasefire. Obviously, after our meeting, as part of their release, the Russians detailed a number of conditions that they want to see met in order to do that. So we're going to evaluate that. Some of those conditions include sanctions that are not ours. They belong to the European Union. So we're going to be gathering and sort of, when our folks get back, sitting down, going through the proposals, getting their impressions of the conversations so we can more fully understand what the Russian position is or what their ask is in exchange. And then we'll present that to the president, who will ultimately make a decision about what the next step here. I think it's a good thing that we have both the Ukrainians and the Russians talking about ceasefires, be they energy or be they potentially in the Black Sea. But obviously, this is hard and difficult work. This is a protracted almost 3.5-year war now, or 3-year war. It has a lot of framework of sanctions that have been built globally now that have to be looked at as part of an ultimate end to a conflict. There's a lot of things that have to be worked through. And I certainly think the only way you're going to make progress on these things is by engaging with both sides, understanding their asks, their demands, and seeing what's possible. So we're going to have a chance now to sort of sit down as a team and evaluate when they arrive in detail how the meetings went with the Ukrainians, how the meetings went with Russia, what are the Russians asking for, what are the Ukrainians asked for, compare all that, and then make a decision on that basis about what comes next in this process. In the end, the goal here is peace. The goal is to end a war where people are dying. And I think everyone should be happy that the United States is engaged in a process of ending a war and bringing about peace. It's not going to be easy. It won't be simple. It'll take some time. But at least we're on that road and we're talking about these things. And we're going to test it and see what's possible. We think we owe that to the world. And the president, I continue to say, is the only leader in the world right now, President Trump, who's in a position to even get these two nations to a city to talk about these things, albeit in rooms far apart from one another when these talks were going on. But nonetheless, they're talking. It's the first time in a while that we've seen any conversation about this. But we have a lot of work yet to be done, and we'll know more after we get the readout from our teams.
Okay, our last question will come from Andrea Chisholm from Television Jamaica.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, given changes to U.S. immigration policies, there are some Jamaicans who are afraid to travel back to Jamaica, even though they are legitimate green card holders. What assurances can you give to those individuals that they will have no difficulty returning to the United States?
Well, green card or residency? I mean, permanent residence you're asking me about? Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And secondly, what problems, if any, does America have with China's investment in Jamaica?
Well, look, I mean, China's a rich and powerful country. Our problem with it is not investment. Okay, our problem is predatory practices. That's what we're concerned about. What we have seen all over the world is that China comes in and says, here's a bunch of money for a project they never build. They bring their own workers to do the work. They don't hire the locals. They bring their own workers. And oftentimes it comes attached with a huge loan that can never be repaid, and now they hold it over your head forever. That's our concern. Our concern is unfair practices, too, where they come in, they're government-subsidized companies, underbid everybody because they're subsidized, but then they come back and charge you whatever they want because now they've got the contract. So these are the things that we remain very concerned about. Again, not specifically about Jamaica, but in general. And so that's what we'll continue to highlight. On the first point, I would say, let me talk about that. If you're agreeing.
All right. China. Remember that? That was one of the C's. The US government under the first Trump administration warned Jamaica about cozying up to the Chinese. Warned Jamaica. Then that administration lost the election and the Democrats took the White House. And it was a free-for-all. Jamaica continued, increased trade, relationship, everything with China. And now you have the second Trump administration coming in, basically saying, we warned you and you didn't listen. You remember when Secretary of State Pompeo came to Jamaica in the first Trump administration? It was primarily about two issues. It had to do with Venezuela and it had to do with China. And so now, because the student has been wayward, the teacher is now coming to berate, flog the student, discipline the student. Listen to what he said. He said, we don't care about Chinese investments. That's not the issue. The issue for us is predatory practices, where they loan you, they come with fancy loan packages that you will never be able to pay back. And then they take over your resources. People, there's an American law called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. President Trump just did away with it. If he didn't, he mentioned that he wants to get rid of it. And that is similar to what the Chinese are doing. It says that, listen, you cannot come into a country and bribe your way into doing business in the country. And that's what he just accused the Chinese of doing. Yet the US government is doing away with the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And President Trump said he doesn't see anything wrong with it. Because he said that while they're restrained, American business is restrained from doing business because of this. The Chinese and others, they're bribing people. Listen carefully. That's what I'm telling you, people. Just, don't just latch on to one word or two words. Latch on to everything. Just immerse yourself in whatever has been said. And think, close your eyes if you want to. I close my eyes a lot. Just close your eyes and just kind of like just let it just sink in. And you saw
Hi. Yes. If you're hearing us, Ratty, we're not hearing you on your mic. You're muted. No, we seem to be having some difficulties with Mr. Rattigan. Are you
Mike,
there now?
you can hear me now?
Yes, we're hearing you now. Perfect.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Edward.
Right. So I am saying this is really, and I've been saying this, I said it yesterday and make we talk with our good friend Jeffrey, that this is the true reason for this trip to Jamaica. I want to point out to your listeners that out of the three countries he's visiting that he's scheduled to visit in the Caribbean, what is the major players what are the major investing players in those countries? It's China. So the Guyanese in Guyana, the Chinese are the largest investors. Outside of ExxonMobil, that has just now been doing the oil investment. But on the regular side, from road housing, it's the Chinese. In Suriname, it's the same. And those countries too have signed on to the Belt and Road Initiative from China. And so if you saw how he got fired up about this Chinese thing, you realize then that he didn't, out of the meeting, he departed from his script somewhat. This was when you heard him in his natural self. Yeah? And you realize that this truly was the foundational basis of the meeting. Yes? And what I realized is and it's actually correct. We raised it yesterday in terms of the predatory practices of the Chinese, and I've seen it where they underbid for projects, and then the cost balloon. Let's use the north to south highway, which is the St. Thomas Highway, sorry, the Southeast Coast Highway, where from Harborview to Port Antonio, which was originally budgeted for a certain amount. I think it was originally budgeted, let's say it was budgeted for $1 billion. But when they bid lower than the bid, and then end up after the contract started, the cost start to balloon. And that's what the Chinese do. Yeah. So I really, really believe that we didn't need the Secretary of State to point this out to us, to be quite frankly. But you're right in saying that it is the teacher now beating the student to say, look here, Pompeo came, Rex Tillerson came. They've all, even Donald Tapia, in raising these issues with you, even Louis Moreno, former ambassador, they have raised these issues with you, and you are not budging on it. And I think the Secretary of State too knows that there are certain persons within this administration that also have link with the Chinese, because they are suppliers or contractors to the Chinese.
Right. Look up yourself, Dr. Ben.
Yes, man.
Yeah, head boy. It's a toss-up as to whether, well, I agree with you that China is a long-standing problem. Cuba is a long-standing problem too, but it pales in comparison to the threat that China poses to the region and to the U.S. and it's happening in America's backyard. So let me just continue a little bit more with the speech.
Card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. You're a green card holder, you are legally in the United States. What the president has said, and I don't know how anybody can disagree with this, every country in the world has immigration laws. And immigration laws, if you don't enforce them, you don't have immigration laws. Over the last few years, we've had, 13, 14, 15 million people enter the United States unlawfully and irregularly. No country in the world can assume that. By the way, that's not unique to us, right? Even here in Jamaica, you've faced challenges of migration. And it's not that we don't sympathize.
For migration, the Haitians don't matter about.
With people that are leaving difficult circumstances, is that no society can absorb mass migration from anywhere in the world. You just can't do it. And we're facing that challenge. That's not specific to Jamaica, I'm just speaking in general. And so the president is doing something that frankly hasn't been done in a long time. He's enforcing our immigration laws. And that's what we're doing. So if you're a green card holder, you're not illegally in the United States. I think the challenge is for those who are illegally in the United States, we have to have immigration laws. They have to be followed. I mean, I don't know why that's an unreasonable demand. And frankly, I mean, Jamaica is not a major source of illegal migration, to be frank. It's not even in the top 10 or top 20, for that matter, I don't think. But that said, we are enforcing our immigration laws, because here's what happens if you don't. You'll get another 12.
Well, I mean,
Afternoon, Prime Minister Holness and Secretary Rubio.
okay.
Thank you both.
We need to have immigration laws, and we need to enforce them, and that's what we are. That's what the president is doing. That's what he promised voters he would do, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But if you're a green card holder, you're legally in the United States, unless, and I say this because a lot of these people come, unless you're some student visa holder who's a sympathizer of some terrorist organization and is running around in our streets like a lunatic, burning down buildings and attacking students at universities. If you're one of these lunatics that's going to put on a mask over your face and break into a student union center and harass students, and we wouldn't have let you in the first place. If you had told us that, if you told us, I'm going to America not just to study at your university, but to tear up your campus, we would have never let you in. And if you do that, once you come into the United States, we're going to kick you out. We're going to do that. And I don't care what terrorist organization is supporting, we're going to kick you out. If you're a gang member, we're going to kick you out. Okay? If you're one of these violent gang members that's coming to the United States, then we're going to kick you out. That we're going to do. There's no doubt about it. But the president's very committed to that. And but if you're a green card holder and you're not any of these things, you're going to be fine.
Prime Minister Holness and Secretary Rubio, as we close today's press conference, we want to thank you for.
That's not exactly true, people. He said that if you're a terrorist or a gang member, first of all, can everybody hear me? You can't hear me, Dr. Ben?
Yeah, man, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. That's not exactly true, and I'll tell you why. If you're a green card holder, because he was saying that the question was, hey, you know, people with green card, I'm free to travel out and have to return. And can he give some assurance that you know they won't be bothered when they come through? Well, here's a problem. If you have a green card and you stay out of the country for more than a year, you are going to have a problem because you're supposed to be living in the United States and paying taxes. The only way you can get around it, you have to file a re-entry. So what you do is you talk to USCIS or CBP, Custom Border Protection. You tell them before you go that, listen, I have a contract and I'm going to be working someplace and it's going to be more than a year before I come back. And then you have a re-entry permit that you can actually come back. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. If you have a green card and you leave America and you go commit a crime outside and it's reported to them, you're going to have a problem. There are a whole host of situations where you could have a green card and still have a problem, but you're not a gang member and you're not a terrorist. So remember what I told you when we first started out, that he's been on the job 2 months, and so it's like drinking water from a hydrant. You know, he's getting briefings day in, day out, not much sleep, traveling all over. And so it will take him some time to really master the issues. This one he hasn't mastered yet. He's on the right track. But going back to what I said, I believe that in the private meeting, they talked to the Prime Minister about China, Cuba. And of course, if he resisted, he would have been spoken to about corruption in his government. He would have been spoken to about corruption in his government. And for those of you joining us late, we put this up earlier. Where is it? Where we show. No, that's not it. It took off. No. Oh, hold on. Where we showed how they're going after. Here it is. Where we show that they just 5 days ago, they took away the visa of the former president of Argentina and the former minister of planning. Argentina for involvement in corruption. Right? And the same thing can happen to Jamaica. So I'm sure the Prime Minister is well aware of this. And his visa is in grave danger right now of being revoked because of all that is going on. So he has to play ball. He has to play ball. So what he needs to do now, he needs to come out. He needs to come out and tell the Jamaican people what are his plans to deal with China, given that he's received his instructions from his boss or one of his bosses. And he also needs to come out and explain to the Jamaican people what he's going to do about Cuba. Because what we had here was no bilateral meeting. I know bilaterals when I see them. I've attended many, but I've participated in bilaterals. This was not bilateral. This was a meeting to issue edicts. This was a meeting to issue instructions to tell the Prime Minister, this is what you are going to do. And if you don't do it, then there will be hell to pay. But particularly since this is an election year. So all of the people running around and saying, oh, you know, the US, them love Jamaica, them love off the Prime Minister. And this, people, come on. How many of you have ever sat in a meeting where some of these things have taken place? Not very many. And the ones who have, they can tell you that what you're seeing here, this love fest you're seeing here, even with the love fest, you hear what the man said. The man said, we don't care about international labor standards. We care that you're paying the Cuban government to pay their workers basically a stipend. And we worry about China, your relationship that you're having with China. And you notice how he deftly said, well, not Jamaica, you know, just in general. Come on, people, at Jamaica, I'm there. At Jamaica, I'm there. You must come at Jamaica and talk about the rest of the world and forget about Jamaica. Jamaica have the same problems as, you know, some of the parts of the world I'm talk about. Makes absolutely no sense. This, ladies and gentlemen, go back and look at it. Pay some attention. It's not a long press conference. And you will see diplomatic speak. It wasn't very good because the messages weren't even subliminal. The messages were right there in front of you. We have a problem with China, you and China, and we have a problem with you and Cuba. And the unspoken one is that if you don't do what we said, then we have a problem with corruption. Keep that in mind, people. So when you hear them talking about, you know, doing business and they're going to bring business to Jamaica and all this, and show me. Show me. All of the things that they're talking about, how come they weren't done in the last 9 years? And we've had, what, 2 secretaries of state come to Jamaica. Actually, Marco Rubio is the 3rd in 9 years. No, man.
I think there's a 5 that we've had 5 in the last 9 years.
5 secretaries of state?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Somebody said 5 in the last 9 years.
I know about. Wait a minute. You might be right, but I know about Tillerson, and I know about Pompeo, and I know about Rubio.
And then remember the one that was here recently.
Who?
The Secretary of State before Rubio. He was here. Remember, he was here during the Haitian incident for the Haitian meeting. And Blinken.
Yeah.
Anthony Blinken.
He came for the conference. Yeah, he came.
And then there's another one. I don't remember who it was. So 5 of them.
Yeah. So you're telling me now, so them are coming on, them are talk them foolishness, and people can't sit through it. No man, madness. Head boy, come in. Oh, Blinken.
Anthony, yeah. Anthony Blinken.
Yes.
Yeah, your thoughts before we close on this topic.
No, you know, once again I say that Andrew Holness and his administration, if they think that they are smart, and if they think that for some reason the Americans don't know what is the relationship between the Chinese investors and certain persons who are close allies of him, and how many persons close to him, including one of his business partner, that was listed in the Integrity Commission report, as how he was in fact a liaison officer for China by Engineering Company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they don't think that the United States is aware of the relationship, and if they don't understand that the United States also all US dollars that is leaving Jamaica, any US transaction that you're doing requires American correspondent banks. And so if the Chinese were going to pay you, they would have to through their bank. So obviously, the United States have access to the financial information and financial records of all of these transactions that would have taken place between individuals and these Chinese companies and Chinese entities. Now, when you realize what the Secretary of State said, in essence, he's saying, we're telling you we're ready to partner with you in manufacturing, we're ready to do some other things, but you have to deal with this Chinese issue. Yeah? And in a sense, he's saying failure to deal with it, because he stopped shy of saying what they would do. That was the only thing left for him to say, exactly what they would do. And so my view is we're going to be seeing an increase, if you want to say surveillance. It's a strong word, because I know from your background, Rattigan, when you hear that word surveillance, it opens up your, your ears jump up. But the truth be told is we're going to be seeing a sort of more monitoring and also a more direct confrontation in terms of what the Americans have to say in terms of the role of China. We have to understand that we in Jamaica and the Jamaican people should never have allowed the Chinese to have so much influence in Jamaica, particularly because of its location. We had the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s. And one of the reasons for that crisis was that Russia was using Cuba as a satellite. There is growing tensions now with the United States and China. We now have to be careful. We don't know who these Chinese are. We don't know what role they play in the Chinese Communist Party. And we don't know, are they using our country for a launching pad? And so I think from a national security standpoint, and you have been pointing this out for a long time, Rattigan, that we need to take serious attention to these guys who are coming in to invest. And we need to also, by the way, China does not share security information with Jamaica. So we don't have any dossier on who these persons are. We don't know if they've ever been arrested. We don't know what crimes they have ever committed in China. So you don't really know who you're dealing with. And so I really believe that, it shouldn't have taken the Secretary of State. That's essentially the point that I'm saying. It should not have taken him to come and tell us that this needs adjustment and needs adjusting. So really, that is my few words on that.
One of the things is it's counterintelligence 101. You don't have a foreign government come and build sensitive sites for you. And who built the headquarters for the Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Ministry? The Chinese. The Chinese. And you know why? They instead of the Jamaican government say, listen, we want you to build some schools, or we want you to build some training centers. Or since we not fix the highway, fix some of the interior roads then. Do that. Instead, them build this. Yeah, I heard that when them say crime is at its lowest in 20 years. It's nonsense. It's not what we didn't. I didn't want to go into that. We'll go into it another time, because I only reflected on the questions and the answers. But in his presentation, he did mention that. Also, Secretary Rubio mentioned some things in his remarks, his direct remarks. We'll get into that. But it because I didn't want to eat up all the time, we didn't focus on that. But one of the things, as far as geopolitics is concerned and counterintelligence, Jamaica plays a pivotal role in CARICOM, geographically, politically, economically, and otherwise. And so any conversations you're going to have about how do you deal with your neighbors to the north and to the south, particularly, because we have neighbors all over, but the north and to the south, those conversations are invaluable. to listening ears. Them want to hear where we are saying. Them want to hear what is the plan, and particularly if we are planning with the Americans and the Chinese are listening in on those conversations. So they get a head start because we are talking, not knowing that they're listening, and so they can make their plans based on what we're saying. The only way to get around that is to issue some disinformation. You give them some stuff where you know it's not true, and you just, as I said, tickle the wires just to see what they're going to do, the phone calls and all that stuff. We won't get into that. No, maybe ever. But you can't have the Chinese bill your Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, where you have some really, really sensitive geopolitical conversations. And that is what happened. In fact, on the side of the building, I think it's a gift from China.
But Ratty, not to cut you, you know, I want to give you an interesting joke. You know, the firm that built that build the embassy, the Foreign Affairs Ministry. You know, I know the principal owners of that firm very well. And let me reveal here that I've never revealed anywhere. They received specific orders from the Chinese government to spread out their wings. They're now going around the Caribbean to have discussions about expansion. I'll leave it at that. But I know the principal owners very well.
There you go. There you go. And I've seen how they've conducted business in Africa. I've seen how they conducted business. They build airports, they build roads, they build sensitive sites, and people just let them come in and just do. Why? Because of money. I mean, corruption. I mean, greed is something else, man. And when you will sell out your people for some silver, and the sad thing is that you have more leaders who are willing to go down that path than those who are willing to say, no, I'm not going to do it. By the way, this Saturday, Jamaica is sitting on tons and tons of money. Jamaica, one rich country. And this Saturday, I'm hoping to have a source. We're going to disguise the person's identity. So you won't see the person, and we're going to disguise the person's voice. But this person, I'm hoping that it will work out. I'm still waiting for a commitment. This person will come and tell you about a particular source of money and how Jamaica is secretly negotiating with some foreign countries, and the Jamaican people don't know nothing about it. Nothing about it. And there are two items that we're going to talk about. And I can tell you that most of you are going to be shocked to know that these things are going on in Jamaica and don't know about it. Don't know about it. Part of it is because we don't read, people. We don't read anymore. And when we hear, we don't listen carefully. But there is something, we have something in Jamaica. I'll just say it's a commodity. We have something in Jamaica right now that if it's exploited properly and the monies are properly accounted for, it could have take care of it, cure if whatever the problems that money can cure, those problems will be cured. So we're going to talk about that this Saturday. And we're going to talk about we'll talk about some additional plans. We have the petition. We'll talk about Magnitsky, and we're going to talk about the Reconnection rally, and we're going to talk about the program that we're going to have. It's called Present a Problem, Share a Solution. We have so many things planned around here. It was just today I got a phone call from Jamaica. And the phone call linked me with a Jamaican living in Africa. Very important person. And they wanted to know my feelings about the diaspora. How How can the diaspora engage Jamaica? How can we do certain things to benefit? The first thing that came out of the meeting is that the politicians in Jamaica, they really don't care about the diaspora. Not all of them, but some of them have said some really nasty things, very insulting things about the diaspora. And there's one person in particular who has been here, asked for money, get the money, and we don't know how the money, we don't know where the money gone. People have been asking for that. People have been asking for that money, and we don't know where the money gone. And so I was explaining to them that, listen, you're talking about a diaspora organization. The diaspora is fragmented. And by the way, the organization called the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council is run by the government. And they didn't even, people in Jamaica didn't even know this. And the people in Africa, they didn't know this. So I said to them, you need to address that first. You can't have a government running a diaspora organization. And some of you've heard me talk about this many times over. It's just unacceptable. So, you know, and let me just say, I'm happy for the people who are calling in with information. You know, it takes a certain amount of trust and comfort before people start opening up. But people are opening up. I do have that walk like a champion, and I probably will do it on this Saturday, God willing. It's prepared. Kevin prepared it, and it's ready to go. But because we have so much information around here, and it's just a limited staff. Well, why wouldn't even say staff? Coming on a staff. It's just volunteers, you know. And we work like crazy during the week to try and put stuff together. And another thing is, somebody, a dear friend of mine mentioned that, hey, you know, you guys have to do a better job by now putting things up and so you don't have to search. And so it's a good point. It's a very good point. But here's the thing. You see, every Saturday we have some issues. We have issues with sound, or we have issues with the video, right? And whenever that happens, guess what happens? Everything that we put up, gone. And that's why, you know, sometimes you see me I fumble around and things because Kevin have to go back in now and do him search and put them back. But every single time that I have to come off and then come back on, everything is gone. Because he puts everything right here in front of me for easy access. Because I tell him I don't have to go back over on the screen and start pulling things from here. Just put it right here so I can just click and then, you know, present. And so once I go off, everything is gone. So we have to go back. So please bear with us. Bear with us. Elaine says sabotage. Dr. Ben, welcome. Talk to us, man. What's going on?
Yes, man. And it's good to be on. I want to apologize for last week and then this week again. I'm still adjusting because my schedule is structured around 8. So I'm just coming back from Kingston and you know, a little held back. But you know, interesting because you know I was watching the presentation today, and when I heard the Secretary of State spoke about the Cubans not being underpaid, or the Cuban not being paid directly and the money being paid to the government, I said I cringed because I said to myself that I know I remember last year I met a Cuban nurse who came into my office, and you know I was talking to him, and you know he had some issues with diabetes because in his country they didn't have access to like ice cream. So the fact that he's here, he has not gotten accustomed to eating the things that he can't get there. So yes, he knows that they are not right for him, but especially ice cream that he can't get, you know, back in Cuba based on him. You know, he just goes and he buys it a lot. So he was sharing with me how, for a fact, their pay is not sent to them. They get a small stipend of the salary. The salary goes to the government. But he was sharing with me how there was a Cuban delegate that came because from time to time the Cuban delegate will come and meet with them to find out how they're doing, if they have any issues, and if they're okay. So he went to the meeting along, I mean, nobody went to the meeting, but when he went to the meeting, he had on a gold chain. And he had on some jewelry. And he didn't know that they were taking note. They were taking note of all of that. They were taking note of how they dress, everything, because they were looking at their lifestyle to see if it reflected anything lavish or anything outside of maybe what their stipend could afford. So when he looked at him and he saw the gold chain and he saw him in certain things, they were trying to find out how he got the gold chain, how he got certain things. And they found out that what went back to the government was the agreed upon salary. So if they were supposed to get like $1,000 per month, the $1,000 per month, maybe the government would get 800 and they would get 200. But here's the thing now. He was doing extra session, and the extra session does not go home. And in some instances, the extra session is nearly equal to, and sometimes more than what you would get as your salary. So in addition to his stipend, he was getting all of his overtime money, and they were not able to live a certain life. And I mean, when they did the investigation and found out that this was so, man said, man, after they left the meeting, when he was to get his next salary, immediately there was no more extra money for him to get. So I was saying to myself, based on that, I know that they are being, the payment is going to the government. It's not going to them. So I'm saying, how is the government going to work their way around that one? Because I don't think, if it is that they are to pay them, I don't think that they're going to have the government. There's not going to be a need for them to send the health workers home. The Cuban government is going to take those health workers.
Yeah, there's a way, but the supporters, them, my family members said, don't tell them, because there are ways to get around it. But, I'm not a Jamaican diplomat, and I'll just leave it like that. Let them figure it out themselves, and we'll leave it like that. But there are ways, believe me, folks, there are ways that they could have gotten out of it, and there are ways that they can still get out of it. But them get paid the big bucks, let them go and deal with that. So,
And then the issue with Marco Rubio spoke about the predatory approach.
Practices of China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think you can separate that from them, because this is the reason why they are here. It's not to do business. It's to take advantage of a situation. And
but you know what? Our prime minister, him don't know who for frighten, because him get feisty one at a time, and say that America is not paying attention to what's going on in its backyard, and that's why Chinese can come in and do all them things. Like him, I say, we not pay attention and not fight war and this, but the Chinese, and he might run up him mouth and things. Why not do it now?
No, him know better. Him know when dealing with.
Why not do it now? You see him humble like a lamb up on the stage, and I read, because why am I read? He might make sure say him not talk off of the top of him and go say something him not for say So him just make sure say you wanna do anything you say, just write it down,
Scripted.
Review it, yes. So don't make no mistake, because one slip of the tongue, and him get a copy of him file. One slip of the tongue and it's finished. And not only him get a copy, but Gleaner would get a copy. Miami Herald would get a copy of it.
But I mean, the person, all the questions, it sounds as if you have a press conference like that, and you only take questions from 4 persons, 4 journalists, and it's clear that the questions, not necessarily scripted, but maybe clear instruction was given as to the line of questions. Because I remember the question from TVJ, these were questions that, to me, it reflected potentially what the public would have wanted to know about, as it relates to the visa, as it relates to how America views our relationship between the Cuban health workers. So it seems as if all the questions were pretty much designed to pacify. They were designed to pacify the public. So so and that alone says that potentially a lot of tension was there. So in order to pacify persons, the questions were structured and they were carefully chosen so as to resolve and to pacify what they think would have been the issues that the public had,
Yeah, somebody in the chat, I don't remember, I don't see who no, but them right. All of them, is a long pants meeting, the Prime Minister show up and wear short pants. Them just tell them say you are short pants, so we are scout and you are cub. So you could just hold your place and sit down and just respect your leaders, them and your bosses, because him come out and him make some little wishy-washy thing and then them talk after and things like that. And somehow this man can't get in his head that, listen, and your friend them, them just see you for what you are. And what you are is a tainted person. Tainted, so them are going to use you as much as them can forget whatever them want regarding a whole host of issues. China, Venezuela, a whole Cuba, a whole range of issues them are use it for. And so them are promised all kinds of things, but in a forthcoming, because he has lost the trust and the confidence of the people of Jamaica as a whole. I think he has, because they're seeing him for what he is, and they're like, there's no way in the world. Think about Marco Rubio when him get the briefing, and him say, Mr. Secretary, when them talk to Marco Rubio and say, here are the good things about the Prime Minister of Jamaica, and here are the bad things. And of the bad things, sir, he has 28 bank accounts. And I can't just picture myself in another meeting there. I can picture myself sitting around that table there with all of the agency heads, and everybody start laugh. I can picture myself sitting there when them say this. Him have 20 and Marco will say, what? Him have 28 bank accounts. And him on the investigation, and him don't want to comply, and the agency where him create, him want to destroy it, now him take them gone to court. You think them people, you think them trust you? You might come talk about pretend to talk to him on a phone when I have no card plugged in at the wall. And I thought, yes, my friend. Them don't see as no friend, sir. Them don't see as a friend. You know what you're seeing as. And just imagine his colleagues in CARICOM, how them feel about him. Like I said, it's not what people say in front of you, when you're in the house, is when you get in your car and you drive out of the driveway, what them say when them gone back in about you. That is what counts. And so him thinks they just stay in the public car and them say nice things about him. But we know some get a scolding before the meeting, We know some get a scolding because the State Department have come down hard on him. They're laughing at Jamaicans. Because one of the reasons why they're laughing at Jamaicans, they must say, we can't believe all of them people see this man do all of them things, and them still have him there. We don't see no protest in the streets. We don't see no call or clamor for him to leave office. We don't see it. So them laugh off at Jamaicans.
But Sarati, not to move away from the point that you're saying, but in some way to buttress, you realize the timing of the Secretary of State's visit to Jamaica.
Yes.
The Alpart in Nain, St. Elizabeth, which is owned by, majority ownership is by GISCO from China. I don't know if majority of Jamaicans know that there was a meeting that was held a week or two ago with mining minister and that would have been member of parliament Witter and Floyd Green with GISCO Alpart. They are considering the reopening of GISCO Alpart for July. If you realize the timing of the Secretary of State's visit, it is almost on the eve of these discussions, one. Two, it's also culminating around what is happening in the southern section of the Caribbean, with Guyana and Suriname, which have seen the largest investments outside of Jamaica from China. But I want to point out something that in the OECS, in the eastern belt of the Caribbean, there was a meeting that was held in Bridgetown in Barbados just in February of this year. The prime ministers of St. Kitts and Nevis and St. Lucia and Barbados and Grenada and Trinidad were present at that meeting. A representative from the United States government was sent, and they are now saying to the OECS that you need to engage with us in terms of more businesses. So from the American Exim Bank, which quite frankly has not done much investment in the Caribbean, they're making available funds from the Exim Bank to do American Exim Bank to do investments in the OECS. And it's an attempt to counter some of that investment from China. And, I note and I said, but hold on, how it is that the American Exim Bank is now making funds available? And I'm not a little bit of money in Orati. I'm saying St. Kitts, where I know for a fact, got made available to them $1 billion US. I repeat, $1 billion US. And there were guided areas that investment can be made, those areas of investment. But the clause attached to it was that these companies must be companies with American linkage or close to America. And so it is obvious that this administration now in the United States is going to be taking a serious step to counter the investments from China in the Caribbean. You must also remember a lot of these OECS countries have don't recognize China, don't recognize the one China policy. And so they would have been friends with Taiwan. Some have abandoned them, such as Dominica, in cases of St. Lucia. The only person that has been able to straddle the two sides would have been Ralph Gonzalez, that still recognizes Taiwan and still is able to get investments from mainland China. And so the point I'm making here is that this trip really, in my view, was the Americans saying, look here, we see the investments, we see the issues you're having, let us partner, but if we're going to partner, you need to really deal with some of these underlying issues coming out of China. Let us make this clear. China Harbour Engineering Construction check when it arrived in Jamaica. It didn't come to Jamaica really to do road, They were brought in 2008 by then Minister of Works, Mike Henry, to do the Palisade or strip. You realize most of those big stones you see park up out there by the airport, going into the airport, that was their first project in Jamaica. Then they gave them we call it the dip. Some people call it the dip up in a dip up. There's a program called the JDIP, the Jamaica Development Infrastructure Program. And that was how the Chinese wet their foot in Jamaica. What we're seeing now is the Chinese are now going into other areas. For example, they never used to touch housing. How on earth you have right now, NHT has issued a major contract to a firm to build low-income housing in a place you know very well, Ratty, Mongoose Town. Yeah? So there's a major Chinese firm that is doing a low-income housing in Mongoose Town on behalf of the NHT, which virtually is cutting out smaller contractors in the country that would typically do housing in this part of the world. So I really, as I digress, it is a straight up business transaction that the Americans are on. They're saying, look here, we can help you, but deal with this enemy of ours.
Right. And we shouldn't forget about the project that the Chinese have embarked on out in Mami Bay, and where they're rerouting 3 rivers so that they can build this luxury development. And don't forget the land that was given to them for building as part of the negotiations for building the north-south highway. I mean, then somebody just reminded me, and that's why I'm saying there's so many issues came up today that I only played the question and answer segment. But one of the things that that Marco Rubio mentioned was revisiting the travel advisory, because he said, "Oh, Jamaica has been doing great things and they've been going down," and then the Prime Minister followed saying, "Yeah, it's the safest Jamaica has been in 20 years." What somebody needs to tell Marco Rubio is ask the JCF to give you the list of the different pools where they hide the dead bodies. Tell them must give you the list for the death investigations where they have hundreds of bodies inside it. Going back to 2016. Well, I asked them about 2016 coming now, and I was surprised they have bodies inside it since 2016. And them said, "Oh, we don't know how these people died." From 2016. They must tell them, give us the one for suicide, give us the missing persons, and give us the self-defense ones. Give us those 4 pools. Make we look on them 4 pools and we see the real rate. And by the way, people still are dead in Jamaica now. Put it this way. People still are being murdered in Jamaica. It's just who are doing the murdering now. Police are doing the murdering now. Right? The murder rate committed by citizens, they said it's down now like 25, 28, whatever percentage, but the extrajudicial killings have gone up over 100%. Right? That is what they must talk about. So, and when you hear Marco Rubio say, "Yeah, we'll think about it," we must tell the Prime Minister, you have a lot of work to do now, Mr. Prime Minister. So we just not gonna pull off this thing here right now. You have a lot of work to do. You have to satisfy your bosses in Washington. You have to make us see that you're doing our bidding. You must be a nice little boy and do what we tell you to do. Otherwise, we're going to spank you. And we have lots of things we can spank you about. So, people, I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to make somebody say open up the phone lines, but I want Dr. Ben do a little piece here because we want to leave about by 11:30. I want cut out and I want to show back the petition before we go. And by the way, people, you don't have to make a donation for the petition to sign the petition. And in fact, I would if you can make a donation tonight, that's fine. Otherwise, I'd wait till Saturday. And by the way, we're going to have a fundraiser. Some of you who tuned in last week Sunday got a musical treat because we had the great Shaka from Portland. Shaka from Portland Spice.
Oh, Shaka Fame.
Shaka Fame. Yeah, man. Shaka Fame was on last week Sunday. And it was a really, really nice event with him, We play some music and we talk a whole bunch of smack and people just love it. So
last week Saturday?
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah. From 2 to 4. So we're going to have we're going to have him back and we're going to do a fundraiser, but this time it won't be 2 hours, it will be about 4 or 5 about 4 or 5 hours. Because in bad like yours, and the people them enjoy him spirit, them enjoy the music. So Megawatt, you miss it. Everybody was asking for you. The producer didn't send out a reminder. We know who you talk now, Mega. So the producer was there doing Mega. So we had a great time. So we're looking forward to our fundraiser. So if you don't have the money for put tonight, that's fine. But we really needed to go and sign the petition because remember now, we know this is about us. And you've been asking for this. And we took the time, put the effort in and said, we're going to come up with this. And now here it is. It's done. So we just need you to, you don't have to write anything. Everything has been written. What we suggest you do is read it so that you understand what you're signing. We just don't want you blindly, you sign blindly. And then when we finish with the package, it will be on the website so everybody can go there and you can pull it down, make a copy for yourself, or just read it. So that's what we're asking for. So Dr. Ben, talk to us about our herbars, some medication to alleviate some of the ailments that we're going through this time of the year. You know what I want to ask you? I want to ask you about allergies because it's springtime here now. And a lot of people suffering from allergies.
Yeah, we're basically heading into the springtime, and seasonal allergy is at an all-time high. mostly because of the pollen. And so, we said to persons that, you want to be careful how you engage. And I mean, a lot of times I said to persons, a lot of pollens are being released. So we said to persons that one thing you want to stay away from is especially dairy products. Even a while ago, while coming, I met while I was on a bus and person turned to me and said, "Man, where you know good for allergy?" And so I said to the person, first of all, you want to stay away from dairy products. And there's a product out there that's very good. It's called colloidal silver.
Colloidal silver.
Yeah, colloidal silver or nano silver. And basically we use a process of electrolysis to diffuse silver in distilled water. So the particles, there's colloidal silver and there's nano silver. So nano silver is just depending on the voltage that is used, you can diffuse the silver particles even smaller. And so it's very effective because and it's good because it selectively affects only the harmful bacteria. It doesn't do anything to the helpful bacteria. And so basically, this is the first natural antibiotic, and you can drop it in the eye. It works very quick, or you can take it orally. I mean, many uses of colloidal silver, but as it relates to seasonal allergy, it's one of the best natural products out there in terms of dealing with seasonal allergy. And then, of course, I said you want to stay away from any type of dairy products. Some people like cheese and milk. You want to stay away from that because it encourages the body to produce a lot more mucus. So once you do that, if you get your colloidal silver, drop it in the eye, then it helps. And it also helps with allergy caused by dust as well. So I know especially for those in the colloidal. Let me just type it. So it's called colloidal silver. That's it, colloidal silver. And then there is nano silver. These are not theoretically. I'm telling you from experience. Those persons living in the St. Thomas area, Portland area, where they're working on the road, where the dust nuisance is affecting them, this is a very good product that I'm sure that it works in terms of helping you with the allergies.
All right. What we'll do, we'll open the phone line. Dr. Ben is here. Remember what he said. He said that he doesn't mind doing presentations, but the best interaction he can have is when you call in.
I flow better when people ask questions.
Yeah. So
because Ratty, it's difficult. I do a show I do 2 shows on Sundays. So with my heavy schedule of clinics and seeing people, it's difficult to prepare another presentation in a week.
Right.
Yeah, it's easier when persons just come with their questions and ask.
So folks, we have half hour to go and the phone line is open. The number is 667-369-8569. Again, the number is 667-369-8569. It's on the banner below below the picture you see right here regarding the COVID-19 injury recovery weekends. You want to talk a little bit about that, Doc?
Yes. So we're still promoting this. I have another flyer I want to send you because we're promoting this. It's April is going to be the last weekend that we're going to be having, and so this is a session that we're having in Morant at the Source Farm, where persons can come, and we're going to have a host of activities surrounding persons who have been negatively affected by the the COVID-19 pandemic, not just physically but emotionally and otherwise. So, if persons want to attend, they can just reach out to me and I'll let them know how they can be a part of that. And we're going to have a lot of activities that are going to be educational and informative as well.
Folks, again, the phone line is open. Some of you put in the chat that I should open the phone line. The phone line is now open. So you can call. Okay, here we go. Caller, good night. Welcome to Come Reason with Rattigan. Where are you calling from?
I call him on Cleveland, Ohio.
Ah, Cleveland. A long time I haven't been to Cleveland. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, Ratty. Yeah, man, I must come to Cleveland, man. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is here.
Yeah, I've been there. Nice place, you know.
Yeah. What I want to say to you about Dr. Ben and that colored silver.
Yes.
How do I get it? How can I get it?
I mean, we have it. But it's also, I don't. It's also available. There are some. You reach out to me, I can send us some. There are some trusted.
You're not coming through clearly.
All right.
No.
Yeah.
He was saying if you can reach out to him, and he'll get it to you.
Yeah, man.
Opal, OT, please put up Dr. Ben's stuff in the chat so that this gentleman can see it and reach out to him.
Yeah, but my sister just went to Jamaica and she's down there. Maybe she could get it.
Yeah, man. We can get it to you. And as I said, this was the first antibiotic before antibiotic was invented. This was what was used as a natural antibiotic. I mean, we've used it for persons with IBS, persons with inflammatory bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease. We've used it, successfully, and persons who have those conditions and get phenomenal results. So it has many uses. At one time it was being promoted in Jamaica as a miracle water because of the many any illnesses you have or condition you have related to bacteria.
The number still don't come up yet.
Oh, it's in the description. OT, put it again, please. Yeah, it's in the description, but OT, go and put it up again.
Right. So that's
we need the description there. Okay, guys. Make us see.
So yeah, so the colloidal silver water is very, very, very effective.
All right, there it is now. You can see it?
No.
Yeah, man, it's there in the chat. Look in the chat.
Yeah, that's a WhatsApp number. So just WhatsApp number.
On my phone and not on the computer.
All right. Well, come off. Do me a favor. Come off on the phone and then check it out. Check out the chat.
Okay. Until you show it up, I will catch. Oh, here you go.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, man. So just WhatsApp me. I'll let you know you can get it.
All right. And by the way, Cleveland, boy, when me go there was winter time and it cold. The wind blew off of the lake, the man. Boy, man,
I tell you, boy, up here, wicked when it comes to cold.
Yeah, man, cold. Because
say Ratty, the last 8, 9, 10 years this winter, the worst one we get.
You serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we get some good winter lately. I'll tell you, but this one really hit us, man. It's a long one.
Whole heap of snow, right?
Yeah, we get it's no cut off now, but it's cold. The cold don't want to leave.
Okay.
In the 30s.
Wow. All right. Well, look, stay warm and continue to support the program. All right.
Yeah, I know time I call us like I get from me say with your profile.
But
we have some knowledge of it,
You know the thing already, man. But
but
we not stop.
Me older than you still. So me know say me left.
You older than me?
Me older than you, man. Me are 72 now.
No, man. You're younger than me, man.
Eh?
I joke, me, man.
No, let me ask you for you must be to 60 or the clover 60. You not get 78.
No, I joke, me, man.
We almost joke, man.
Yeah. You sound strong, though. You sound strong, like, things are going for you. So the only thing you need is this to take care of take care of the what you call it, the pollen, then you're in a good shape, man.
Yeah, man. All right. So be talk, man.
All right. Take care of yourself.
All right, cool.
All right, Virgin. All right, cool. Yeah. People, we have 25 minutes to go. The number is 667-369-8569. Call in with your questions. Anything you want to talk about. Dr. Ben is here. So, make use of the time. It's springtime now, and a lot of you suffering from all kinds of ailments. He's here, and he have the information and he have the product. I am here. You don't want to talk about the Magnitsky. You don't want to talk about the...
Yeah, tell me, Ratty, because I just saw it. I just signed it. But what is the Magnitsky?
All right, the Magnitsky Act is an American. Well, it's not only an American law, but it started out in America. It's a journalist slash lawyer who came across a whole bunch of corruption committed by Kremlin members and all kinds of politicians, and the man them grab him, beat him up, and then put him in a prison, and they ended up killing him. Hold on one second. Caller, good night. Welcome to Come Rouge, Ms. Rattigan. Where are you calling
Good
from?
night, Dr. Ben. Good night, Mr. Rattigan.
Good night.
Yes, Mr. Rattigan. Dr. Ben, I soon come to you.
All right.
Call back. I'll ask the question the gentleman won't ask on their behalf. Anyway, Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, ma'am.
As you were discussing about the Secretary of State visiting Jamaica, you tried your very best to really have Andrew Holness to understand certain critical things, and he played a deaf ears. Now, I'm wondering what is he saying to himself, because here it comes to book now. And Mr. Rubio comes for a specific reason. And he speak without, as old time people that say, without water in his mouth. Now, I believe, yes, they have a private meeting as well as this public one. And I can imagine he talks to him, Andrew Holness, about some sensitive issues that we won't know about. And I could imagine him touching corruption, the 28 bank account, and other, critical issues. I know he didn't leave those out. I know he knows what is happening. You can listen to him speaking and get the sense out of what he's saying. And he speaks indirect. And what you say is exactly as it says. He touches the issues that he must touch publicly. If Andrew don't understand that, then something is wrong with him. And to me, he wants China to be out of the Caribbean and certain countries. And that is right, because China, when they go into a country, they take over. And I am wondering right now what the consequences will be for Andrew Holness for him to withdraw himself right now. Can he take back all those lands he gave to China, Mr. Rattigan?
No.
Wait again. Do you believe that Jamaica finished paying for the road, the toll thing? You believe Jamaica is finished and is still continuing collecting money?
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Okay. So
go ahead, please.
So what is going to be done about that?
There's nothing, because Jamaica signed off on this deal, and as Marco Rubio mentioned, some of these deals are predatory in nature. You will never be able to pay them back, and once they call in that loan, they can in that contract you already give them access to lands, to certain natural resources. You give them access to your ports. You give them this. You give them that. So them just take it, and what you're going to do? You can't fight them, because you end up in some international court, and then you're spending money fighting that, and in the meantime, nothing is going on for your country. So it's like I said, there are ways that you can negotiate your way out of this, but I won't be providing any information to them. I mean, they have their own.
No. Make the fire burn him as such as you can be.
Right. And while the fire burning, we are come with the Magnitsky now. So
more fire.
More fire. So, Anyway, Miss Phyllis.
Wait there, Mr. Rattigan. And another point. You notice that Jamaica was the priority to come first. It's very important that he reached to Jamaica. And he come to Jamaica first, and he says that. Now, I'm thinking to myself now, what about Andrew Holness now for him to withdraw Andrew of himself, to step back from all of this? How is he going to do that? Perhaps you can't answer, but let us see.
Yeah, well, one of the things is that if you look at the JLP and you say, okay, let's look at the bench. Let's see if the Prime Minister, had to step down, who would replace him? They don't have anybody there to replace him. Who will replace him? Tufton? No.
But wait.
No.
Interject there, Mr. Rattigan. I am thinking to forget this, that the Secretary of State might have asked him to step down. Who knows?
Look, anything is possible in those meetings, depending on how they turn. Yeah, I've seen them go south, fast. And we saw one in public the other day, between Zelensky and Trump. We saw that. So, these things, the way they play out, you can never really predict. But the one thing we can say for sure is that our Prime Minister is in a pickle. He's in a pickle.
More than a pickle.
He's in a pickle because of his own actions, not because of anything that anybody did to him, or more. Sometimes it's more like what people did for him, but he has no one to blame but himself. So he just have to just sit there and deal with it.
I'm gonna say this last and get off the phone. During this conversation, when he says we're not going to embarrass anybody, that tells me that he might have asked him to step down and have those critical kind of talk with him, which is necessary. That word that he says, it means a lot.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me not give any advice. I'll just leave it like that.
No, don't give any. I've given enough.
Yeah.
And he rejected them. Make more fire come and burn him. All right, good night. Thanks for answering.
Before you leave, you say you have a question for Dr. Benny. You're going to save that question for last. So go ahead with the question for Dr. Benny. You say you're going to ask a question. I don't want to
ask this question on the air.
You say you're going to ask a question for men. Oh, okay.
And I will ask this question on the air. I change my mind. I might, if I think it over, I'll call back.
You can quote it up and ask a question.
Good night, Dr. Ben. Good night.
Good night. You can quote it up and ask a question, man.
Yes. Caller, good night. Welcome to Come Reasons Rattigan.
Where are you calling from? Good night, Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, good night. How are you?
I have a question for Dr. Ben.
Please, go ahead.
I would like to find out, I'm in Georgia, so I would like to find out how can I get the colloidal silver?
His details in the chat. I don't know if you want to go back and look. Did you see it?
Yes, I have seen this. I've seen the details.
Yeah. Just give him a call, man. And he'll get it. He'll get it to you in a jiffy.
Yeah. It's something that it's something that is as I say, it's so important. Colloidal silver. I've seen it. When we talk, I'll share it with you, because I want to share some of the issues that I know it has dealt with. Not maybe I think I know that it has dealt with. They call it miracle water, and this is because of how it works. So as I said, I personally, I'm looking if I have my bottle. I know. I have a bottle for myself, and I use it. I remember when I used to go to Kingston. I used to because I'm from Montego Bay, and I wasn't accustomed to that amount of dust and so on. When I go to Kingston, I always have a allergic reaction, and when you use it, it works instantly. Not a 5 minute from now, works instantly.
Yeah, Donovan, you're right. The even though the contracts, the Chinese would probably hold them, don't make any concessions. You can renegotiate, but to renegotiate, it takes two parties. Jamaica can't just say, go and renegotiate. If the Chinese say, we're not renegotiating, then, where are you? A stalemate.
But look, I want to say, Ratty, look at what happened with Panama. I mean, I don't know how did that work, because they just said that they wanted the Panama Canal, and how did Panama just get out of that arrangement? I mean, can Jamaica do something like that, you know?
Well, the canal, they have lots of people with lots of interest in that canal. And so, you know, some people sell off their interest. It wasn't owned by just one party.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just like the port, Jamaica Harbor, right? Yeah, I think it was the French who had it at one point, and then the French sold their interest to the Chinese, and the Jamaican government didn't really have any objection to it. So Goat Island, I have an ATI right now pending for Goat Island. I think I got a response. We're going to talk about ATIs again this Saturday, because I received every day, you know, I'm getting responses, and I'm going to show you how stupid some of these people are. Well, they're not stupid. They know what they're doing. They're trying to frustrate the effort. But I'm just going to show you some things that they're doing. But it won't stop me, and it shouldn't stop you. Continue to file your ATIs. I got one today. I got one yesterday. I think I won the day before. But, you know, for every one that they sent to me, I filed 2 and 3s. So we just keep adding up. But Dr. Ben, going back to the Magnitsky. Yeah, so they killed this guy Magnitsky, and then the American government said, hey, violation of human rights and da. So they passed this law, the Magnitsky law. And at the time, it only dealt with corruption. They passed it during President Obama's era.
What did the law say?
So, yeah, and now it's been amended over the years, and now it deals with kleptocracy, corruption, and human rights violations. And what it says is that if any country is involved in any of these things, the U.S. government, I know the U.S. government has a relationship with most of the countries of the world, so they're like, okay, if you engage in any one of these practices, then we have the right to revoke your visa and to seize your assets. And also they can make a referral to the FBI International Corruption Unit, and they can pursue criminal charges against you. So the Canadians, they have a similar law. The UK has a similar law. The EU is a little bit different, because the EU's version of the Magnitsky only deals with human rights violations. It doesn't deal with, unless it's changed. But the last time I checked, they only deal with human rights violations, no corruption, no kleptocracy. So what we did was, we're not waiting for these countries to go ahead and do it on their own volition. We're taking an active step to say to these countries, listen, you're dealing with a country called Jamaica. It is corrupt, there is kleptocracy, and there are human rights violations committed by the government. That's where we're focused on. Even though the law can be applied to individuals, you know, who are outside the government. But in Jamaica's case, we're talking about the government itself. And so we have this petition. We have a small group of people that this group has been working diligently for quite a while now. And they're almost finished with the 3 subtopics under the Magnitsky. But this petition is saying that all of us who signed this, we agree with this, we agree with it, and we're lending our voice to support the filing. So we're going to go and we're going to file it with these government, and we're going to say, you need to take a look at this, and where possible, if possible, when possible, take appropriate action against these government officials. Seize their assets, take with them visa, at least as a start, even if you don't prosecute them, but as a start. Let them become pariahs. Let them, everywhere them go, people know. And remember, you know, most of the Jamaican politicians, where are they going? The US, Canada, the UK, and Europe. And once you shut them out of them markets there, then that's it. So this is it right here. Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah, while you're looking, I just want to say to Carol that just email me and message me. Obviously, I can't answer now, and I won't answer tonight, but tomorrow I'll respond. Always easier to just message me first before, because I'm always in a consultation, so I can't answer the phone every time. But so if you call me, the best approach is not to call me first, it's to message me first, and then I can respond, because I can't take all the calls because I'm almost always seeing somebody, and I can't answer the phone every time it rings.
Okay.
So this petition, Ratty, you're saying is a petition being raised against the Jamaican government as it relates to corruption.
All three.
Okay, corruption, human traffic. What was it? What?
Corruption, kleptocracy, and human trafficking.
Human trafficking. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is an issue that once you raise it, you're saying that who is it being addressed to?
It's we're gonna pass this off to the US, UK, EU, and Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Opal, something went wrong on my screen, because what happened is now it's no longer here, so I can't open it up to show Dr. Ben. I don't know where it came. Hold on, let me see something. That's a bit. Okay, all right. You know what? Here. Hold on, Opal. Let me just open this up so I can show Dr. Bennett. Invite present. Full screen. All right. All right, here we go, Dr. Ben. This is when you open it up.
Mm-hmm.
When you open this, right, you click, you're gonna see this, and you can click right. This link here will take you to the website.
Right.
It will take you to the petition itself, right? And it says right here, please sign the Magnitsky petition. And it says, by signing this petition, you are standing up for transparency, accountability, and justice for the sake of our country, our citizens, and our future. Now, when you click on this right here, this will come up. Hold on, let me move this.
It brings you to.
It brings you to this. Yeah, it brings you to this, right?
Oh, okay.
And then this right here, it tells you what the issue is. And again, for those of you who joined us late, I'll read it quickly. I don't know if I big this up, so I don't want to take any chances. It just says the devastating impact of corruption, kleptocracy, and human rights violations on ordinary Jamaican citizens, particularly the poor and marginalized, is a stark reality. As Jamaicans who care deeply about Jamrock and our people, we are compelled to seek international assistance to influence the necessary change. Jamaica is ranked 73 out of 180 on Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index for 2024, indicating a significant problem with corruption. We cannot continue to ignore this issue that is so deeply embedded in our nation's fabric, affecting every aspect of life for Jamaicans. Kleptocracy, which is the second leg, we have corruption, kleptocracy now. It says a government characterized by rampant greed and corruption further exacerbates these issues, concentrating wealth among a small Jamaican elite while the wider population suffers. And then the third one, moreover, human rights organizations such as Amnesty International have regularly documented allegations of human rights abuses, including unlawful killings, unconstitutional detention, and ill treatment by the Jamaican Constabulary Force. The Magnitsky Act, a significant law first employed by the United States, grants pertinent nations the legal framework to impose visa bans and asset freezes on government officials involved in bribery, corruption, and serious human rights abuses. Utilizing this act against Jamaican government officials is a vital step towards cleansing our system and embarking on a path of the promised, quote unquote, good governance and justice. We, therefore, call upon the US, UK, EU, and Canada to review our claims and apply the Magnitsky Act to combat corruption, kleptocracy, and human rights violations in Jamaica. By signing this petition, you're standing up for transparency, accountability, and justice for all Jamaicans. Please lend your voice and help us to bring about this much-needed change for the sake of our country, our citizens, and our future. So that's that. And then we're going to put this on top of the package that we have, where we have documented all of these things that we're talking about. And then we're just going to send them off. And then our job is done. Then it's up to these countries, whatever they want to do, you know. So
okay, and you heard they respond? Will they respond, or they just start acting?
This just came out like 2 days ago.
No, I mean, once you send it, will they respond in writing to say yes, they've gotten it, or will they just act if they're acting?
We will talk about that with them to say, look, if there's anything else, please let us know. Please give us a status report. Yeah, we'll follow up with them. And then OT wants me to talk about the Reconnect rally in Jamaica. We're going to reconnect with our brothers and sisters in Jamaica. We're going to reconnect on a number of issues. We're going to reconnect for the sake of family. We're going to reconnect for the sake of culture, for the sake of history. And do not forget, for the sake of civics, because we're going to be looking at two topics. We're going to be looking at cost of living that's affecting everybody, or almost 99% of Jamaica. And then we're also going to be looking at the Constitution that is going to affect almost all of Jamaica. But we're going to look at it not through the political lens, but through the lens of civics. We'll teach you how to become a better Jamaican citizen. Because a lot of you, when I say a lot of you have some idea of what it means, but not a comprehensive understanding. And we're trying to drill that into our people so that when they see an issue, it doesn't matter what political persuasion you ascribe to. It doesn't matter what religious beliefs you hold. If you're a Jamaican, these issues are going to affect you. And so you look at them through the eyes of civics and the Constitution. So you say, okay, I have a right to know about this. So for example, and we gave one today, if you want to talk about things in your neighborhood, the time to talk about them is not after they read the budget. It's about March, April, when they're getting ready to put those things in the budget call and send it off to the Ministry of Finance, that you have a talk with your MPs. And by the way, while we're talking about having a talk with your MPs, we don't believe that the Jamaican government, the political parties should just give us manifestos and say, here, this is what we promised to do. They can do that. But we believe that the 63 constituencies, each constituency should have its own manifesto and say, this is what we expect from you. And they should call both candidates, if they have an independent, call all of them and say, listen, this is what we expect from you. Now we need you to tell us how will you achieve these things for us. And based on what you hear, you vote for the person. But you must insist that those persons come before you every 3 to 4 months and give you a status report on the things that they have done, the things that they haven't done, and the reasons why they haven't done the things that they should have done.
Right.
And then because now you have to take back that. You always had that power, but we never exercise it. This is the power of the community. And it doesn't matter what political party you are, because, another thing is, we would like to see parliamentarians live in the community that they represent. You can't live at Beverly Hills and represent Tower Hill. You don't know what the suffering like. You don't know what the misery is like. You don't know. You're up there in your castle and you are eat the best that money can buy. Meanwhile, people down in the ghetto that you represent, they must suffer. They must starve.
Well, what they do now, they normally move into the area around about election time.
But here's the thing. No, we want them to live there, not move in. We want them to live there.
And then after election, they move out.
No. That's why we say we'll put it inside. They're saying if you represent a community, then you must live there. You must reside there. You can't have a part-time residence there. You must live there full-time. And whatever suffering these people are enduring, you must be a witness to it, and you must be a savior to them. You must hear their cries. This is service. If you don't want to do that, then don't run.
Right.
Don't run. But if you're going to run, you have to live there. That is what we are going to insist on, because that's one of the ways we think that people will get the attention that they deserve.
And representation.
Live there. Could you imagine a politician living in a neighborhood and people because first thing is that he might forget drive on them roads there, no.
The water issues.
Go off his life, go off him too. When water go off him too. All of the things where them people have suffered, he must suffer. And you know what's going to happen to? The people are going to come and get every day and bother him. We want our money, we want this, we want that one. That is service. That is service. If you truly believe in service, that is what you must do. offer yourself and offer your service by going and living in the community. So that when the people start suffer, you suffer alongside them. And you know what happens? You will be a greater advocate for them when you go to parliament.
Because you're feeling it.
You can speak from personal experience and say, I live there, I see this. But other than that, you know, and I believe that all of these communities, they have people, they have bright people here. They have people who know what the issues are and them can represent. Why is it that we get a certain clique who come in and say, we are going to run the thing for now. Just vote for us. Want the people in the ghetto, them have no sense, them can't rule too. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. So if you want to run, if you want to provide service to the people, you should live with the people.
That's right.
Live with the people. And Dorrit, when we say living now, them can't move out after a month because that I go inside and say you must, for the time that you're representing them, you must live. You can't stay there. You must live there. It must be your fixed address. You can't just come in whenever you feel like and go somewhere and say, no. You must live there. And the people, if that is the case, and you find out that the people them not living there, then no, what for do? No, what for do? So, OT, give me the little music and make us walk out of this place here. So Dr. Ben, listen. Some things done. We talk about allergies and things like that. Want to big up Head Boy for come on. And most of all, people want to big up all of you tune in tonight and watch this program. And I hope Morris, you onto something. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, Morris. We're going to expose the thing. But I hope you were able to benefit from what we did tonight. And, you know, we are going to try our level best to make sure that every time we come on, we provide some kind of education to the public so that you can walk away feeling that it was time well spent. We don't have time to talk about people's personal affairs around here and things like that. It's all about your affairs and how you're affected and how the people you have selected, how they are representing or misrepresenting you, and provide you with solutions. So you know what to do, and we're going to come up with that program. Present a problem, share a solution. We're coming up with that pretty soon, and we're going to have a whole bunch of people. It's going to be a segment. So every week we will have people on, and the way it works is that we'll have you on for first 10 minutes. You will present the issue, and 20 minutes you will provide the solutions. Then the panel will grill you for about a half hour. Grill the solutions. Grill. Then we open up the phone line for a half hour so that our family and friends out there them can call in and make comments on what you presented. And we're going to do that once a week. I don't know, maybe not this week, we'll start the following week. And then we'll go from there. So we have a lot of things planned. We do appreciate your support. And until we meet again, you take care and be well. Bless up yourself, my brethren.
All right.